Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Pylon Show number 139, the all German edition, but we're going to do it in English. I am joined today by ShoWTimE, Lambo, and a little bit later, the biggest of Gabes will join us too. First thing I want to get out of the way is before people get upset, why is the Pylon Show at 1 p.m. again, Rotti? You promised some American guest, you promised later Pylon shows. This one was not on me. This one was on Cobra. And he was only available early into the day. And I said, you know what? Then I've got a great idea. And I'll be honest with you guys were not my first choice. I wanted to go with an all Russian edition, Vanya, Skillis. But Vanya's like, I need 2 weeks holiday, Rotti. But in 2 weeks, I'll be back at computer. I was like, all right, out with the Russians, in with the Germans. But I'm very happy to have you guys here. Let's kick things off with the current reigning, defending, undisputed champion of the European Pro Tour Weekly. That's got to sound real good. Lambo, how are you doing today, mate?
I'm doing fantastic. I just woke up and I took it a little bit easy. Today is my off day, so I don't work out and I'm just chilling. So now I'm gonna chill a little bit with you guys.
That's funny. Today's also my off day when it comes to working out, but I have to admit there's quite a few of those in my calendar. But I'm very happy that you're joining us. Today is going to be a very chill episode because obviously, once more, guys, StarCraft 2 is not exactly the same as it was years ago. We don't have a weekly update of Blizzard. We don't have a whole lot of new things, but what we do have is an amazing scene with still some fun tournaments. So we're going to talk about that, and then we're just going to talk about how the Germans have been doing over the last few months and how they are looking forward towards the future and the rest of the year. Mr. Mauer, first off, we have to get the big question out of the way. How is that shoulder?
It's not too bad, luckily. Like when I dislocated the first time, it was really bad. Like it was my shoulder was like swollen up and I couldn't feel it. It was like completely numb, like pretty all around. It was like completely numb. Now it's not that bad actually because it was only out for 10 minutes. Popped it in pretty quickly, so it feels pretty normal. It's just a bit it feels a bit loose, a bit like not super stable. So I need to. Well, I'm supposed to keep it in an arm sling. I mean, as you can see, I don't follow it too strictly, but I think sitting it's fine. So it's surprisingly decent.
For everyone that doesn't use Twitter or doesn't keep up with everything Starcraft 2 related, ShoWTimE went to get his second vaccination last week. While he took off his jacket, he dislocated his shoulder.
No,
We
but I
were
took it
all.
on. But I put it on.
Oh, by the way, you put it on. Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
that's
Like I took it off because I couldn't put my arm upwards because they put the shot into the shoulder, right? So I couldn't put it off, like my sleeve up. So I took off my jacket. Then they put the shot in, and I put it back on. And the thing is, like to the left of me there was a table, so I didn't have a lot of space to put my jacket back on. So I was kind of like awkwardly, like going around and like the arm in like super awkward position, and then it's like, and I'm like, oh. Fuck, I dislocated my shoulder, and the doctor just looks at me, and he's like, he was thinking I was joking at first, but then he looks at, but then he looks at my shoulder, and it's like you can just see like the bone is like completely different, when and
Oh,
it's like, ugh. But
man.
yeah, fun times, fun times.
Honestly, that's the kind of story that could really go viral, because there's obviously a lot of people out there that are looking for reasons not to get their second vaccination. It's like German boy dislocates shoulder after vaccination.
Yeah, man, the
So,
side effects, they're brutal. Like sometimes it's just
yeah.
it hits you a bit different sometimes.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Obviously, at first I was like, okay, I hope he's okay. And then when I realized that you're going to be okay, even though it's a bit annoying, I was kind of hoping that this would have happened during a ladder game. People always say Protoss is easy. We don't do a whole lot. But meanwhile, ShoWTimE is working so hard that while he's defending 4 drops at once, he dislocated his shoulder. I honestly think that would have restored some honor for all the Protoss players out there. But I
Well, that
guess.
seems very unlikely to happen.
All right, all right. Well, the way that we have been doing the pilot show for the last 7 or 8 weeks, ever since Otosis decided that he just simply doesn't have the time for it anymore, is that we cover the weeklies. And today is actually the day that we have the most amount of victories ever, with Gabe joining, 45 in total, split by the three of you. And Lambo, do you know that you are literally the only person on this planet to have exactly 2 victories? No one's got. Some people have more, some people have less. But you're the only two-time champ there is.
Yeah, fantastic. We are very, very, very proud of only winning 2, while we have 45 here.
I mean, 2 is still a whole lot more than most people have in Europe, mate. When you've got Clem and Gabe winning 70% of the cups. ShoWTimE, of course, having 10 victories and Gabe having 33. Let's just go ahead and start things off with the Korean Weekly, if you can, Cobra. Because the Korean Weekly was actually, I mean, I say it every week. I have to admit that out of the 3 regions, the Korean one is the one that I'm least excited for, because it feels that a lot of the top tier Koreans, they don't really care. And if they don't care, it makes it a bit hard for me to care. But I looked at this playoff bracket and I'm like, okay. Goblin made it into the money while playing from Croatia on the Korean server. Then lost to Has. Has beats Classic after Classic should have qualified for the GSL. And after almost beating Zest, I mean, ShoWTimE, did you see Classic against Zest by any chance?
Yeah, I did see it. I don't know. Yeah, I was, like Zest right now, I feel like is really, really good. And Classic is significantly worse, in my opinion. But in that series, I don't know. Classic should have won for sure. But it would have been kind of a robbery, I feel like, because like Zest just so much better. So I would have been very disappointed, even though I love Classic. I mean, I love Classic, really. It's a fantastic player, but skill level wise, I was happy that Zest won, even though he should have lost in the end.
Yeah. I just noticed that Raza made it into the money again as well, by the way. It seems like we're missing out on a couple dollars here, guys. Maybe we should start playing that Korean Weekly at 6 a.m. on a Sunday. Because, Lambo, I see you look at this bracket.
I mean, time-wise, I would much prefer playing the Korean one over the American one. Like, I would never stay up that late. I would much rather wake up early. I don't even know who Raza is. Is this Razor Blader?
Yeah, that's Razor Blader.
Okay. And he lives there, or what?
No, he lives in the UK, mate.
All right, well done to him then beating Maxed, I guess. I mean, it looks like you have to beat one decent player and then you're in the money. Or sometimes not even so decent. So for example, I don't even know who Fork is, the player that has speed in that case. So yeah, cool region.
Creator winning it in the end. I'm almost gonna assume that's his first victory, but I guess I should double check that before I say that. That's also somewhat surprising, but then I guess if you look at the entire lineup, it is a little bit less surprising. What do you feel, ShoWTimE, when you look at this and you just see that all the top Koreans just don't participate?
I mean, it's not always like this, right? Like this one seems especially weak right now. I mean, I know sometimes they're like this, but I feel like a lot of times, at least you have like some of the Korean Protoss, right? Like Zest often plays and Cure plays every week, and usually you get a couple good ones, but I feel like when GSL is going on, they just don't care that much. It seems like they're just super focused on GSL. They only practice for that, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Like looking at this one, it definitely seems like a very weak edition.
It was Creator's second victory, actually. But yeah, I mean, at least Cure was in it. So I guess whenever you win a tournament that did have Cure in it, you can say you've done something right. And he's also the one who eliminated him. Has getting a victory over Classic. I mean, it's obviously kind of funny, but I'll be real as well. It also makes me a bit sad because you compare this to the European Pro Tour Weekly, where I feel you've got even some of the good Americans joining in the European Weekly. You've got even the Koreans coming over, and then you have almost most of the top tier Europeans. Like, I feel like at any given moment of the top 16 of Europe, I think it's safe to say that 10, 11 players on average participate in the European Pro Tour Weekly. And then especially these guys that are all behind it, just makes it a very fun tournament to follow. And then you look at what's happening over in Korea and you're like, well, it's nice that Goblin and Raza won $50, but I don't know if that's good for anyone. But yeah. All right, congrats to Creator for getting his second victory. And also congrats to Has, of course, for making it to the final, picking up a couple EPT points. Let's move on. And that means the next up is our European Pro Tour Weekly. Lambo, I want you to talk me fully through, but also through the emotions. When you were taking a look at Twitch chat and people are like, hey Lambo, King Cobra is up 1-0 over Clem. Hey Lambo, King Cobra just 2-0 Clem or 2-1 Clem. Like, what's going through your mind at that point?
Well, I thought there was trolling because I didn't get updates game by game. It just at some point someone told me that King Cobra beat Clem. I was like, no way. And then the other guys were like, oh no, he actually beat him. And I was like, what the hell? Okay, so I can actually get to the finals without having to beat Clem, because that's usually where I fail. So yeah, I was pretty happy, and I kind of was interested in how he did it. Fun fact also was that at the same day I always warm up with Terran. I played against him a couple of times, and I lost against his weird style, and my Twitcher was making fun of me because I lost like 6 base against 3 base while he was just camping with Carrier Disruptor. But then Clem and Marine Lord and Coffee also lost to him, so I was like, come on, man. It's at least not my bet. I felt a lot better afterwards.
King Cobra is the the kind of Protoss that you look at and you're like, that doesn't seem that good, but he's really good at creating one big powerful army and then not just winning a fight, but winning a game with it. I saw some Void Rays as well. ShoWTimE, when you see, I don't, wait, you didn't? Did you participate this week? I don't think
No.
you did, right?
No,
When
no,
you,
no.
no, because of the shoulder, of course. When you follow the weekly and then you see King Cobra beat Clem, are you like, oh my god, like people are gonna refer to this for the next 3 months, or do you just think it's kind of funny?
I thought it was funny, especially when you also beat Marine Lord. Like for me, it's like when I play against Clem, why even Marine Lord beat me in the last one, I think.
Mhm.
They're like so strong, you know. Like it's tricky to play against them, and then you have like a 6K Protoss who is just I don't know what he did. I didn't see the games, but then he just like beats them like this, and I'm like, okay, nice, I guess.
I saw Void Rays on the Romanticide against Marine Lord. I don't know what happened in the first game, but I've played a lot of games against King Cobra in the past, and at one point I actually had a funny little interaction with him because I didn't really know who he was, but I thought that he always played like a bit below his MMR, and we would always have ridiculous games. And I had some games against him that went on for 45 minutes where I was like Phoenix against Phoenix, but then he would go Carriers and I would go Tempest, but then he'd go back into Phoenix, and it just never stopped. We both had like 8 Stargates. And I was like, man, this King Cobra guy is kind of annoying. Or then he would like Tempest rush me in PvP, and then if you mess up once, it would actually work in like some of the older patches. And I was like, man, now I'm gonna be on King Cobra's YouTube channel again because he always uploads these games. And then he added me on Discord. He's like, hello Rotterdam, I watch your stream and you say I post on YouTube. It's not me. It's Alex. He wants replay. I just give, okay? It's not me uploading. I was like, it's okay, mate. I'm sorry. I was just a bit salty about losing to you all the time. He's like, no worries. Have a nice day. I was like, all right, that was a lovely little interaction with King Cobra. But yeah, I thought it was a pretty spectacular run. But let's talk about your run for a little bit, Lambo. I see you played against Real, Christianer, and EaSiEr on your journey to the grand final. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anything stood out?
I mean, I was streaming as well against Rail. I was mostly trolling one game, but he beat me with a. He did this glaive build, 3 gate into third base, and I was like, there's no way he can defend it. So I all-in'd him the first game with Ravager Ling, and he got completely destroyed. So the next game he does it again, and I have Overlord speed. So I scout his main and natural the entire time for a Dark Shrine to see if I need to make a lair or not. And then he holds the all-in with Dark Templars. He made the Dark Shrine at the front of his third base, and I didn't scout it. So that's how I lost the game there. I thought that was pretty funny. And yeah, the other series were all 2-1s, and I don't know. The King Cobra series was by far the most one-sided one because I think that he's mostly just very scary against Terran, not so much against Zerg. Because I think playing Zerg, you can just play late game from my head, or basically I just made Corruptors and killed this Skytoss.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Well, speaking of Skytoss and Corruptus, we could talk a little bit about the grand final as well. That was quite a roller coaster against Maxi Paxi, who obviously had a great run. We'll talk about that soon. But you fell 2-1 behind in the grand final. I think on Blackburn, you said to your stream that you forgot your Roach Warren completely, and that's why you couldn't deal with the Zealots, Archons, and Void Ray attack. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, I wanted to bait him into this all-in that he always does when he sees any Corruptors. So I wanted to make a low amount of Corruptors, some Vipers, and because he makes mass Void Ray and then has a really weak charged out Icon Force, and then just defend it with Roach Ravager Bane on like a high drone count and then go into late game from miles ahead. But then I realized I didn't have a Roach Horn, so it didn't really work.
I saw there were 2 Archons in your main base that got up to like 50 kills or something, the 2 of them fighting a bunch of Zerglings clumped up. Well, what were your thoughts overall going into the final? Because obviously MaxPax is on a bit of a heater lately. He did very well. He came off an excellent DreamHack season, I think. You obviously came off a very disappointing one. Are you still full of confidence when you enter a best of 5 like that?
Yeah, against Maxplex for sure, because he's super one-dimensional and usually it's pretty easy to get ahead. Yeah, I'm just generally very confident against him especially. But yeah, I don't know. You still have to play on top of your game if you don't want to die against. Like he always does the same build and then he kind of all-ins in the early late game. You still need to be on top of your game to hold that. He does it like sometimes with a run by at the same time, and it's kind of hard to hold. But if you get past it, usually it's pretty easy.
On the final game was Oxide, right? You went for the Queen Walk, but that's one of these scenarios where if you would have had a very early Dark Shrine because you did it off Hatchery Tech, that'd be really bad for you. But why were you not worried about that at all?
Well, I scouted and he went +1 air, and he also could not have scouted because he literally lost his Oracle right away.
Mhm.
So I just reactively was like, okay, I'm gonna make 2 extra queens right away, and then I'm gonna walk across the map. There's like he just doesn't mix it up, so you don't really need to worry about that kind of stuff because he plays the same build every game.
You know, I always love casting a final, and like if you see a scoreline like this, where it's like, okay, Max backs up 2-1, but Lambo turns around 3-2, like that could be really hype. But I felt that both the last 2 games, they were kind of annoying because like you were so far ahead, but then the game would still go on for like 10 or 11 minutes. As a player, I'm sure that's very enjoyable for you, where you know that everything is leading up to this victory. But yeah, how did you experience game 4 and 5?
Game 4 was really annoying. Like I'm obviously not sure yet that I'm gonna win the finals, and I'm sitting in this game and I know it's over. But he obviously Maxwax never leaves the game, and his adept barely spawned at the start of the game, right when he did the failed cannon rush. And I was like, man, if only I microed my links a little bit better there, I would have saved like 16 minutes. And it's approaching midnight. I haven't had dinner yet. I'm like, come on, man, just leave the fucking game. And he's turtling on 3 base with the disruptors, and I'm like, oh my god.
Oh well, you managed to close it out in the end. Did you watch a little bit of the weekly Showtime, or did you just take some time away from the computer?
I didn't really see it. I think I saw the final. The game on Jaganatha was the one where he was turtling 3 base, right, or whatever.
Yeah.
I think I saw that one, but I didn't watch all that much.
So Showtime Tuesday for game 4. He's like, I've seen enough over here. Like, why is this game going on for 20 minutes?
Pretty much.
Other than that, we obviously have to talk a little bit about Vanya. And Gabe is not here yet for the people at home who joined later. Where's Gabe? Gabe will be joining soon, guys. He's currently moving from one apartment to the next in Cologne. I was so shocked, by the way, when I asked Gabe. And Gabe is like, I can only make it at 4. I'm like, what do you have to do, Gabe? You never do anything. Like, the only thing you do is stream every night. And then whenever you lose a game, you say that you need a break from streaming, which means that you start 30 minutes later the next day, but you still stream anyway. I'm like, how can Gabe be busy? But moving, I was like, all right, that's pretty real. I can get behind that. But yeah, Vanya getting a pretty big upset there. Did you see that one coming, Lambo? And when you saw that, is that also something that you're like, I definitely prefer playing Max Packs or Vanya in the final over Gabe, or did you not care too much?
I mean, I do prefer playing Max Pax or Vanya over Gabe, but I think Gabe has shown some weakness against Zerg specifically. The last couple of weeks, also when he played against me or Laser, didn't seem too solid. So, I mean, this is for sure a surprise because Vanya, out of all people, also I wouldn't take as the strongest TVZ player himself. But I think this is maybe a signal that Gabe needs to clean up that specific matchup a little bit, which is hard to do because there's not that many Zergs.
Yep, and we're gonna talk about that as well, and that's obviously one thing that Gabe was talking about too. When you're just lathering all night long from 10 till 2 a.m. and he's playing Cristiano and Gerald in best of 47s basically every single day, then it's like, well, eventually that's gonna show in the TVZ. I gotta say, it was pretty exciting. The games were quite good. Obviously, Vanya is not super polished. You know, you're not watching a Rain or a Cerro, but he still has his moments, his little anti-timings, and turns it into somewhat macro-oriented games, even though it feels like every attack is on the verge of it being an all-in, but it still makes it a very enjoyable watch. And that final game on Romanticide was pretty cool. He got the job done with Larkus. Overall, I think this was a very fun European Pro Tour weekly. Don't know if there's anything else that really stood out. I'm just going over the results quickly. Yeah, Cass beating Mana. He still got it, guys.
Yeah, and those were long games. That's all I know because the Laser was complaining about waiting forever. So that was a late game series.
And what do we make of our new Polish Terran player, Spirit, also having a pretty good run?
Is that a good run for him?
Well, for a
Losing
brand
map
new
to
player,
Adominus.
we have never seen him before.
True,
Spirit,
true.
he just
New kid
comes
on
out
the
of
block.
nowhere. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
not
mean,
bad beating Adominus. I mean, yeah. I think he has some potential. It shows some potential for sure.
Lambo, you're good
Why did
friends
he
with.
actually change?
Yeah. What's the reason?
Okay, he explained it to me, but I already forgot. I don't think it was a great explanation. It's among the lines of he just feels like it, and he just feels like maybe a little bit of a change might be cool. Like he just feels like it, and I don't think it's very big for him. I think for other people like ShoWTimE or you or me, if we would change your name, it would be pretty big, right? But he doesn't really stream or anything or care about social numbers or recognition too much. So I think it's okay.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that none of that is that important, and I think if it makes you happy, you got to do with it. But I just think it's a funny change that kind of came out of nowhere, and like I'm glad that ShoWTimE is kind of smiling too, and you're smiling because when someone told me, I was like, no, this is not real. And now every single time I have to refer to Spirit, I'm just like, because it's Soul. You know, if it was anyone else, then you'd be like, okay, he changed his name. It's like whatever, but it's just such a Soul thing to do. And you go from Soul to Spirit, while we have a French Zerg that's called
Yeah.
Soul Spirit, and it's a hero as well in Dota. I'm like, really? This is what we had to go for? Oh well.
Yeah, that's
Oh
true.
well.
I found it funny as well. I also asked the Zerg right away what he thought, and he thought it was funny as well. Um, yeah.
Soul Spirit took out the Muslim. Actually, did you guys see the Muslim playing against Skillers in this European Pro Tour Weekly? And Skillers went for a Void Ray all in, three games in a row. He lost the first one, but he still just did it in game 2 and game 3. When you hear something like that, Lambo, do you think anything of that, or do you think like whatever he should do with it, whatever the hell he wants?
No, I think Skillers should do whatever he thinks is going to win him the game. But I also heard from it. I didn't see it. I heard from it obviously under the Muslim stream the day after. He was still complaining about it. So yeah, that's why I know.
Yeah.
Like the Muslim never scouts ever, so I can understand it. Like it's basically a free win. Whenever I play him, it's like no scout, like just zero fucks given, just greedy, hit the strong timing. It's like almost every time. So it's probably a good thing. Like proxy gating him, proxy void ray, like it's just a free win, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, he definitely struggled a bit, and he did mess up the first game. Yeah, the Muslim did go for the same opening all 3 games. It's Marine into Reactor and with a command center, and yeah, he did scout it. He did find it quite early actually, and
Oh,
and he
okay.
kind of knew what was going up, but yeah, just wasn't able to get it together. Game 3 was quite close, but at one point the floodgates were open, the batteries went up, and yeah,
I
the
mean,
Muslim.
I feel like it's so obnoxious. Like when I play Terran and I have to face this, I'm just like, oh my god.
Yeah.
I'm happy I'm not Terran and have to play against this dumb stuff all the time. I mean, at like super high level, I don't think it's that difficult anymore. But if you're like 6K, maybe up to 6.5, it seems super obnoxious.
Yeah, like I look at it from 2 ways. I can definitely understand the disappointment from the Muslim, where it's like, oh, come on, man, like your skill is, I'm banned. Like, do you really have to do this against me 3 games in a row? So I understand the frustration, and that goes for most Terran players. And I obviously, like, I was watching the games. I hope for a bit more. But on the other end, it is still a competition, and if Skillers is just exactly thinking what ShoWTimE said, is like, mate, you play super greedy, and if I just go for a Twilight Council, I go up to 3 bases, Marines with a couple of SCVs and 1 tank and a medevac will move out at the 4 minute mark, and that becomes a nightmare to play against when you have like 2 stalkers and the third one is on the way. So, you know, it goes 2 ways. Ben can play very abusive too, and Skillers just didn't want to let Ben have his happy time. Overall, it was a very fun European Pro Tour Weekly, and of course, congrats Lambo for winning the second time. Was the stream awesome? Was it epic? Everything you hoped for?
Yeah, it was fun, especially because in the last game my mouse died before the last game, or it was almost out of energy, so I recharged it and I didn't tab out, so there was this extra little bit because MaxPack stayed in the game if my mouse was gonna die during a fight. A little bit of extra excitement there. So it was definitely fun. It was like a 10-hour stream, which was the longest stream I've had in like 3 years. So
I'm sure it was a great one. A couple times while you were live, I was also telling people to go over and spam some Rambos for you over there. Didn't restream you, but I would prop up your stream and be like, guys, the man is live. What's up with the Darth Vader thing that you have going on, by the way? It's like, is it the green screen camera? Like, what's the story, and when are we gonna fix this, Lambo?
well, I'm not using a green screen. I'm using the NVIDIA broadcast, so I can just turn this off. This is my background usually.
Yeah, but what's wrong
And
with that background? Doesn't that look slightly better than like the weird, super dark, shady thing that you got going on sometimes?
well, I prefer. I think it looks cleaner on the stream if I don't have like for here for example. I think just having the background on is fine, but I just didn't change it. But for the stream, I prefer just seeing myself on there rather than having like a square in the bottom right in the overlay. I don't know. I don't like it as
I
much.
oh, I feel attacked. Oh, are we getting into this? What's wrong with the square in the bottom right, Lambo?
As I said, this is my personal preference, right? So I just think it looks slightly cleaner, especially because I'm also used to not having an overlay. So now that I have an overlay, theoretically I could change it. But in order for this NVIDIA thing to work, I need light. But I don't want to put on the light because then I see the like other than the natural light that is in my room anyways, I don't see the
Yeah.
minimap as good.
And you can also get a headache, mate. I had one of those weird studio lights where you can like turn it like up and down, and like I don't even know what measurement they use, and you can turn the color. And for one point, I set it on my desk, and I back then didn't have this camera. I had a Logitech Brio. I was like, I'm gonna make it look really good, so I have this big ass studio lamp on my face, and I was like, wow, it looks pretty good. And after 2 days, I just couldn't win a game anymore, and I was like, I don't know what's wrong with me, and I'm like, I'm feeling weird, and I'm like walking around, and it feels like I've got a massive migraine on the left side of my head, and I'm like, where is this coming from? And then I'm like sitting behind my desk, and I'm like, oh, maybe this thing shining in the left eye for 10 hours a day is starting to have an impact on my head. I legitimately, it took me like 2 days to recover. I'm like, all right, never do that again, because I had it way too bright and way too shiny. I was like, okay, this was a terrible idea. Anyways, we have one more weekly to cover, and hopefully by then Gabe will join us. And if not, we still have a bit of GSL to cover anyway. Let's go ahead and take a look at the American Pro Tour Weekly number 85. I actually did not follow this one, so this is all going to be news to me as well. I do have it open on my screen, and it seems like Clément was so pissed off that he lost to King Cobra that he took out all his anger on the American nerds. And I do really think that's how it is. And Clem even said that a bit on the Pylon show. He's like, yeah, if the European one goes really bad, I just want to redeem myself immediately, so I play the American one. And seems like he had a good time doing so. Dropped one map to Bly. Did you see those games by any chance, Lambo?
No. This is way past my bedtime. By the time this starts, I'm usually in bed.
Well, this time you were still celebrating your Game 5 victory over MaxPax, because those games went on for a while, but
Yeah, it went pretty late, but when does it start actually? It starts at like 1 a.m., right?
yeah, and we finished up past midnight. It was like a solid 20,
Yeah,
30
yeah.
minutes past midnight.
Straight to bed. I ate a little snack and went to bed.
Okay. Didn't want to go for the double.
No, dude. Doesn't this go till like 5 a.m., 6 a.m.?
Yeah, between 5 and 6. I mean, come on,
There's no
5:30
chance.
a.m. You meet Clem in the semifinals. What's not to love, Lambo?
No, absolutely not.
ShoWTimE, have you ever? I feel like you've played the American one once or twice. Is that correct, or am I making this up?
I've played like for like a month or so. I won one of them, but it's the thing is I changed my sleep schedule for it, so I went to bed at like 6 a.m. always, or like 5 a.m. and woke up at like 1 p.m. or so. So I did it for a while, but I find it kind of depressing to like stay up until 6 a.m. every day. Like there's just nothing to do in the middle of the night. It's just boring. So after a month, I was like, no, I'm done with this. Even though I think it's worth it actually. If you're like somewhat decent player, you can like I think I made. So I won once, and I think I made the semi-final once as well, and then maybe like a top 8 or something. I don't remember exactly, but I got like some money from it and a couple points. So it's worth it, but it's I don't know. I feel miserable after a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's an interesting point, and that's actually one of my talking points with you guys today. Where, like, it's obviously not that easy to win money in StarCraft 2, especially in the big events. Like, you have to duke it out with Clem, Rain, and Cero, even just looking at Europe there. But even outside of that, it is not easy to make money. So I'm glad that you bring it up. Where you're like, it could be worth it. On the other end, it does take a lot out of you to stay up till 6 a.m. and basically adjust your entire life for a weekly tournament. But then at the same time, you look at like the Korean weekly and you're like, well, maybe I can just wake up a bit earlier on the Sunday and play those games from Europe, because then you can also maybe pick up some dollars. Because like it's all happening on the Monday, and it may be like a lot of StarCraft or even too much StarCraft, and it's too much in a row to do the European and the American one all the time. But it is a pretty unique opportunity to just casually participate in an $800 tournament, which in 2021 is not easy to get, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I wish the Korean weekly was a bit later because they moved forward right at some point because of Olimo League or something. I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't know.
But like, I wish it was a bit later because then, even with the ping, you could technically play it if it's at 10, 11 a.m. and for us. But waking up at 6 or like playing at 6 a.m., I don't know. I don't think I can wake up at 5 a.m. and play my best. So I would have to stay up or something. But then I don't know. It seems even worse than staying up until 6 a.m. if you have to play or start the cup at 6 a.m. So I wish it was a bit later.
I thought at 6 a.m. you were doing your run through the forest, and that's why you couldn't.
Yeah, that's why. What I mean, I need to do my run. It's otherwise I can't feel good about my play.
Okay. I'm glad we got that sorted out. Overall, congrats to Clem. It just seemed like he had a relatively easy time other than dropping a map against Bly. I'm taking a look to see if any other results stand out. Maples getting a 2-0 over Spots. What's happening to our German Bruder Spots?
PvP, I guess. I mean,
Yes.
what MMR is Spats right now? Like 6.4 maybe, 6.3? I think
Yeah.
Maples is also like 6k-ish, so... It's not the biggest upset, but it's a little bit of a small one, I guess.
I think it's more like I like Maples, but I think it's more like 5-7, 5-8
Oh, okay.
against 6-3. That's a pretty big difference. But
True. I don't know. PvP is... I feel like, it's like Zeswell's Classic. There's probably like a 400 or 500 MMR difference, and the lower rated player almost won. It's... I don't know. It happens so easily in PvP.
all right, a better question than Lambo. How is Spacey Macy beating for Jumi?
Isn't that also similar levels? I
Very
mean,
similar. But
we've
still,
had what 1,000 plus MMR difference victory this week, and this is what we're talking about.
no. Okay, I want
As
to
an
get on the
upset.
record. What people don't know about King Cobra is that King Cobra lives in Vladivostok, and that's basically China or Korea. He always ladders on the Korean server. He's a 6.7k barcode on the Korean ladder, okay, Lambo?
Okay. My bad. I take it all back.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, do you know how hard it is to play from Vladivostok on the European server, guys? It's like 300 ping. Okay, give King Cobra a break that he's only 6k in Europe. Just kidding. He probably lives in Moscow, but I don't know. No, okay. Well, fun little weekly. It seemed like it. I mean, and look at the quarterfinals. Marine Lord making it into the money. Obviously, he's not happy that he ran into Clam. Has actually made a killing this week by making it to the final in the Korean one, semi-final in America. Well done, Has. Also beating his brethren, Nice. I feel like Haas and Nice, they must play like 87 times a year against each other. Like, it's actually getting insane.
Yeah. I wonder what the biggest rivalry is in StarCraft. Because I don't know. I feel like Bly versus Nurture was those two guys played everything back in the day, but Nice versus Haas actually playing everything. Every single time there's a Taiwanese cup. I wonder what
Something
those
like
numbers actually say.
something like Bly Cristiano has probably also happened like 3,000 times. Bly
Anything
Gerald.
involving Ply.
Yeah.
Yeah, it must be Bly versus someone.
Gerald did have a decent run here as well. It's good to see Scarlet play. I definitely want to talk a little bit about Scarlet with you later, but I want to do that when Gabe is here too. Thank you very much for showing us the weeklies. We spent quite some time on them, but they are awesome. If you guys at home are interested in following these tournaments live, they always happen. At least the American one and the European one, they happen on Monday. It starts at 6 p.m. Central European time, or the American one, it would be 1 a.m. on the Tuesday morning. Plenty of casters are covering it, and a lot of the players are streaming it too. Lambo, whenever he participates, you're participating more lately, Lambo. Is that because the DreamHack was a bit shitty, mate?
No, it's actually because I can't find ladder games. So I don't know. I don't know how else to get content A from my stream, but also B to just practice because people after the DreamHacks are always a little bit like, okay, I want to take a little bit of time off. So custom games are harder to find as well. So it's the best way of finding games. That's also the reason why I participated during the DreamHack because I just couldn't find a Terran to play with. So I hoped for Clem actually.
But
Same.
it's also obviously good content for your stream as well, though, right? Like I don't want to say that you're a content creator because you're obviously one of the finest Zergs we have on this planet, not just in Europe. But you have been putting a lot of time and effort into your stream. You even made some YouTube tutorials in the past. It doesn't hurt to play in this weekly. That will generate more hype than you playing a couple of irrelevant ladder games.
I think usually my viewer count was worse than when I just ladder because there's a ton of downtime and usually I'm not in the best mood because I'm kind of hangry when I play them because at some point I'm supposed to eat dinner but the tournament still goes on. So by the time I'm in the semifinals, I'm not in the best mood. So I don't know if those are my best streams, and I'm also not sure if those are the best viewership because everybody's streaming, obviously. So I usually prefer to just take them chill, eat next to it, and not stream and like watch some YouTube videos or something in the downtime, and take it easy. But this week is actually the first one I streamed. Usually I wouldn't stream them.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's actually true. Like when I first started streaming them, a lot of people tuned in, but like the recent 3 times I streamed, they had like viewership was like very bad. because there's just like, I mean, you are streaming Rotti, then there's Rotti streaming, Hero Marine, there's like everyone is streaming. So that the viewership is just too split. And unless you make the final, you're not gonna get all that many viewers unless you're already one of the big streamers. So I noticed this as well, where like I've decided to not really stream them anymore because it just doesn't feel like it's super worth it. Because I only stream like 3 times a week or so, and if I want to do like a weekly letter or like the weekly, then the viewership is a lot worse. Like it was like half of what I usually get the last 3 times I did it.
Yeah, but I also think it's important. Like, it takes time, though, guys. Like, you guys obviously know that consistency is very important when you stream. When I started casting the weeklies on Monday, not even just playing them, when I started casting them, at first I had 800 viewers, and then a little bit later I had 1100 viewers, and it got better over time. But if I would have just like only streamed it once in a while, then it actually wouldn't have taken off. I am convinced that if you guys would somehow want to play every single week, and then you also let your viewers and your community know, like, hey guys, Monday we're participating in the weekly, make sure to cheer me on, that it will actually grow into your most successful stream of the week, no matter how many other people are streaming, because you can be worried about that, but it actually is not that important. It's more just important that your viewers and your community will know that you're always doing it. Like, then it will take off. I'm convinced of that.
Yeah, I just feel like I would much rather focus on just playing than
Yeah,
also
that's fair.
entertaining a stream.
Mhm.
Because I mean it's a lot of money for an online cup. So if you do well, I feel like you can get more out of it than if you stream and maybe play at 90% of your usual, because you're, I don't know, distracted by chat or whatever.
Mhm. But
So
you
I'm
can
not
obviously
sure.
get but you can get the double kill like Lambo got on Monday. You get the stream money and then you
Yeah,
get the tournament money.
true. I mean, if it happens, it's nice. Like the first time I streamed it, I think I either won or made the final, and I was like 1,000+ people tuning in and stuff. So it was pretty nice. But I don't know. I'm not exactly sure if it's super worth it to do every time.
No, of course. And you should do what makes you happy and what you think makes you play the best, of course, as well, because otherwise everything else not that important. I do want to touch real quick on what Lambo just said there, where he feels that he's kind of hangry during those tournaments because they go on forever. How do you deal with it, ShoWTimE? Do you eat before, or do you just eat a little bit during the tournament, or do you not eat at all?
I usually eat before. Like I usually have dinner pretty early, like 5 p.m. between like 5 and 6. So it works out for me for the European weekly. But towards the end, I also sometimes get like very hungry, and it kind of the level drops off in the final. You know, when it's suddenly you're like, oh, I'm so hungry, I want to eat something. But I don't know, like I think just eating something small, or like I eat my dinner before and then I eat some small stuff in between. That's I found is the best option. Like just eat some bananas or whatever.
Yeah, I was thinking of that. You know, I always think back of 2010, 2011, where when Naniwa was one of the best players in the world, or at least best foreigners, he had this thing that he would always eat a Snickers before his tournament. He would have a Snickers bar, and then right before the games, he would eat his Snickers. And I guess in a way, I can see how that can help a little bit with the focus and get a bit of a sugar rush going. Some nuts in it as well. Anyway, speaking of the GSL, I don't know, that's a weird bridge, but Naniwa was in Korea a long time ago, played in the GSL. Let's talk about the GSL. We have wrapped up all the qualifiers. Last week, we only touched upon the opening rounds, where we obviously had that close PvP series, but we had a few more games. Juanito has also been casting 2 days with Artosis. Did you guys listen to Juanito a little bit? If so, how did you enjoy it?
I watched it a bunch, and I think he did a pretty good job, to be honest. Especially for the first time, I thought it was really good. And yeah, I thought he paired quite well also with Artosis, and Artosis was I think Artosis is probably super nice to have as a first co-caster when you start out. So yeah, I liked it. I also thought he looked fly in a suit. I've never seen him wear not jogging pants, so that was cool to see as well.
I think you're gonna get used to that, mate. I think Juanito is a changed man after this COVID time. We will never see the sweatpants with a hole inside of it and that white T-shirt that's slightly too short, and we're never gonna see that again. It's a beautiful sight on all of our images on brains, but that is gone. So we have our updates here. SOS took out Ragnarok. ShoWTimE. No surprise there, or a little surprise?
Um, I think either could have won. SOS is always a wild card because he just doesn't play in a whole lot of tournaments. Like I don't know does he ever play weeklies? I don't think so, right? It feels like he plays in absolutely nothing except GSL. So you never really know how he's gonna perform. And he looked very strong. He played some absolutely wild stuff. But he looked very strong. I mean, even the late game looked good. Like it looked better than a lot of Korean Protoss played because he made tempest, he played it slow, batteries, all that good stuff
Mhm.
that you should do, even though it's very boring. But yeah, he looked very strong. So it's not an upset or anything, but yeah, it's good to see SOS being in good shape.
Sometimes I feel that SOS could very well be like secretly a guy that's sitting on $20 million and he just plays StarCraft 2 for fun. Where he's like, I really don't need this and I don't care, but I'm just here to have a good time. Let's boss out a couple cannon rushes. Or he's just so convinced that he's so much better than the opposition. Because sometimes you're not even sure if he's playing serious or not. But then he is winning, and it seems like it's a pretty important series. So I'm sure he was serious, but even that cannon rush on Blackburn could have worked, right? If he would have just kept his probe alive a bit longer or would have had a second probe there, because I think Ragnarok was really confused. And that obviously helps. As well as a bit of that max packs factor where they can play to their image and they're like, are they faking or not? And by the time you figured it out, it's actually real. We saw Beyond have a relatively convincing victory over Percival. I think we're all very happy to have Beyond back in the GSL. Lambo, your teammate, ecstatic.
Yeah, he looked very happy as well. I mean, I didn't watch it because it was a TVT, but I saw the pictures afterwards on social media, and I congratulated him. Obviously, he was very happy about it, and even though he played against someone that is a favorite, he took it very serious. So, yeah, I'm always happy for him.
I just feel like it's good in general when Beyond does well because Beyond is a player that obviously has a big following, and I feel like he has the playstyle as well to excite a lot of soccer fans around the world. So that makes me happy. Solar was dominant against Gumiho. A lot of people are excited to see Gumiho back. He's back from the military. We know that he likes to play Mac, but it seemed like Solar didn't really give a damn about how excited people were. He was just there to take care of business. Pretty one-sided series. Anything you want to say about it, Lambo?
I scrolled through it to see if Gumio did any interesting openings. That's usually what I do with Korean StarCraft at the very least, to see what the opponents are playing, because Europeans very often copy it. But I think he just played Bio, so and Solar just owned him. So yeah, not the most interesting, but I also think Solar is like the most consistent Korean Zerg, so not too surprising.
Yeah. And sometimes he's even like inconsistent in a good way. When we had the Chinese tournament a while ago, where suddenly he ended up beating Maru and stuff, and I was like, "What the hell, Solar? Where's this coming from?" That was pretty sick. Keen getting a 3-0 over Ryung. I don't think those games are really worth talking about. I took a look at it, and even Juanito was like not doing the casting thing at all. He's like, man, Ryung got destroyed, and Artos is like, oh yeah, I'm sure he will be back. He will be stronger next season. And I'm like, I mean, I don't know if that's gonna be the case. Like next season is pretty far away. There's gonna be another next year, but yeah, I love the brutal honesty there of Juanito, and that's just kind of the way it was. Last but not least, we had Cure getting a 3-0 over Linux. I feel like no one is surprised by this, but on the other end, whenever Cure has to play an offline series, you're always like, please just play like Cure. You know, you don't even have to play your best. Just play like 90% as good as you do in online tournaments. And he did. And that meant that we had the group selection process as well. Do you guys ever watch that live, or is that not the kind of content you're interested in?
It
You go.
Go ahead.
Okay. I didn't watch it this time, but I usually watch it. I think it's pretty fun to see like the banter and all this stuff because Koreans they can be pretty brutal. Like they trash talk a lot. So I think it's always pretty fun, but I didn't catch it this time.
Lambo?
I used to watch it back in the day, but for me it's a little bit too slow. But I also find it very enjoyable. But recently they started just they used the footage of the interviews later on when they played in the GSL groups anyway. So I just see it there, and then I still get the banter, and it's yeah, I don't have to watch the entire thing because I think it takes very long. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same, and maybe that's like a little bit of a zoomer in me that I also don't have just the attention span to sit there because I do enjoy it, I do like it, but I also cannot get myself to sit there for like an hour and a bit to just see some people moving stuff around in groups. But what I did see is that there was a Reddit thread where it's like, does anyone else think the Koreans are too mean to Special? And then someone else like, I actually think Special did something mean to TY because, and then it's like, yeah, but Zest also said this. I'm like, guys, holy smokes. Like 1 week, everyone is too boring. Everyone is too nice in StarCraft. And we miss Idra. Like, everyone misses Idra all the time. Oh, it was just so fun. And now these guys, they say something funny to each other in the group selection. And we start making a thread about, like, how people are mean. Come on, like let them have some fun. I think all 16 players get along quite well with each other in the GSL. I'm not worried about any of that. Let's go ahead and take a look at the groups then. It apparently, guys, already starts in 4 days. I had no idea. Trap, Special, Zest, and Keen. ShoWTimE, your thoughts real quick?
I would say Trap and Zest are clear favorites. Special has some upset potential. I don't know much about Keen. I haven't seen him in forever. But I wouldn't give him much of a chance. Even though, as I said, I don't know much about him anymore.
Lambo, if you look at Group A, would you say that 2 players have slightly easier tools than the other 2?
For sure, EaSiEr tools, mate. Yeah, I've heard experts' opinions on this, and I think that the Trap and the Zest, their tools are very powerful. So I think they're the favorites here.
I mean, fortunately, Special and Keen can still make it to Katowice, and they can still get better in this game. So there's plenty to fight for now. I think we're all excited to see Special playing Group A. I hope that he can cause an upset there. Sometimes Junito does speak in these groups, though. I will never forget that BlizzCon group where he made it out over TY and stats, and nobody really thought that was possible. So I'll definitely tune in for that one. Should be good. Group B, Maru, Solar, SOS, and Dream. I think this group has a lot of potential, Lambo. What do you think?
Well, I personally think this is the hardest group, and yeah, I don't know. I think anyone could make it out of a group like this, especially in with best of threes GSL format. I personally like this group a little for Solar. I think he's pretty good against Terran, and you never know with SOS which SOS shows up. But if you ask the Koreans how good he is, usually they say they speak with high respect of him. So I don't know. I think this might be the most open group because I also believe that Dream is pretty good. Obviously, Maru is Maru, so I think anyone could honestly advance on this one.
That group will be happening a week from now. ShoWTimE, your thoughts quickly on Group B?
I'd agree. Like, very tough group. I would say Dream, Underdog, probably. I could see any one of Maru, Solar, and SOS make it out in any order, really. Like last season, SOS beat Maru, so it's definitely possible again. Yeah, very tough group overall, I would say. Probably, yeah, I would say the hardest, yeah.
Group C, Rogue, Zone, Dongregu, and Cure. I think you can make a... Actually, guys, what the hell? Group D is the strongest. What are you guys smoking, man? Come on. Group D is sick. But Group C, real quick then. Rogue, Zone, DRG, Cure. Lambo, your thoughts?
I think this is a cool group where I think Rogue is the clear favorite, and DRG was streaming yesterday, and he got asked about this group, and he said he liked it as well. So I think it's gonna be Rogue +1 most likely, with even chances across the board. If this was an online tournament, probably Cure would be the favorite.
Yeah.
I don't really like Rogue's Zaun's ZVP as much as he might be good in the other 2 matchups. So I think this is not the best group for Zaun, to be honest. He also said he really didn't want to get picked by Rogue. So I don't know. We'll see. I think a good group for Rogue, but overall an interesting one to see who gets out in second.
But isn't Rogue losing to Zaun all the time? Am I crazy?
I'm not sure, to be honest. But he picked them, so I mean, he must have confidence. He must have confidence in the match.
I was about to ask, like, what did Rogue pick Zaun? It seems so weird. Like, didn't he lose like two tournaments in a row to Zaun? Like, am I crazy? Am I thinking of Dark? Maybe. I can't really remember.
I know
Maybe it's
Dark
Dark.
lost a bunch to Zaun, but it could
Yeah,
also
maybe
be
it's Dark.
possible that Rogue lost a couple matches to Zaun. But I think a lot can happen, and you can get a lot better in one matchup. And then maybe he took a look at which Protosses are in the pool, which is SOS, Zest, Zaun, and Pything, and maybe he just wanted to pick the easiest. Is something that I could see.
Or maybe he just thought that he's going to do that 2-base all-in again that he's been doing for 5 months, where it's like, Disruptor into Colossus push, 2-base, can it work? And it's like, well, worked once, twice, 3 times, but after a couple of months, turns out the Zergs are going to get a little better against it. I do think Group C is going to be fun, has some potential, but I just don't really see a world where Cure doesn't make it out. I think the only way that Cure doesn't make it out is if his decider match in the lower bracket is against Zaun. Like, I can see him just get swarmed there by Zealots and Stalkers or something, or walk into a couple storms. I feel like if Cure just plays half as good as he normally does in that matchup, should be alright against Rogue and Dongrego. But it's going to be fun. Last but not least, I think by far and away the most exciting group, guys. An old school group of death, if you ask me. Dark, Bonnie, Beyond, and Parting. Bonnie obviously came off to one of his best GSL runs in a very long time. I I hope every season, guys. I'm a bit of a Bunny fanboy, as obviously you guys know. I just think he's a great character. He's a very funny guy at Homestead Cup to hang out with. And he's been good. He's been good for so long. He's just never gone all the way. And I really hope to see it just one time. And I know that he's an underdog in every GSL season, but I think it would be such a beautiful story of hard work and dreams coming true if he could finally lift the trophy once. But this group looks awesome, if you ask me. Lambo, Dark Bunny, Beyond, Parting.
Yeah, I think this group is also a very difficult one. And I remember now that I watched the GSL group nomination for a little bit while I was eating, and it was during the group C and D. And they asked Bunny, and Bunny said he didn't want Dark. He said they should rather meet like later in the round of 4 or something. And I was like, wow, you have a lot of confidence for thinking that you're going to get in the round of 4 for sure. And then Dark immediately destroyed it by just picking him right away. So I felt immediately a little bit bad for Bunny. Um, but now with his, I mean, he had a great run last year, so with his newly gained confidence and two very preparation-based players in Björn and Parting, it can definitely be an interesting group. Um, you say it's a group of death, and I think initially, if you look at the names, probably it's fine. I think Group B is a little bit harder in overall skill level, but these players are all very good in preparing, so I think it's a fun one for sure.
ShoWTimE.
Yeah, I think Dark is gonna make it out pretty easily. I feel like he's just really strong right now. Although, who knows, maybe he doesn't practice after winning the last season, but he looks very, very good. And I think second place is kind of up for grabs, like Bunny, Björn, Parting. I want to say they're very similar in skill level, so I think anyone can make it out of those.
I don't know. I love this group. I think it has a lot of potential to be quite wild, especially even Parting. I think there's always upset potential, and we don't exactly know how good Bjorn is at the moment, but I think we all know what Bjorn is capable of. If he is feeling it, I mean, if the other Shopify players are doing as well as they are, then maybe Bjorn can just suddenly top Group D and get the hype train rolling. Bjorn is going to win another GSL Codas, guys. It's going to happen. So this will start in 4 days from now. If you guys wonder where can you watch it live, just head over to YouTube, type in GSL, and you'll find the correct channel. I do believe that Tasteless is out of Nergeo again, as he would call it. 10 days quarantine has ended, so Tasteless should be back just casting together with Artosis, as they always have been. And it's going to be fun. Hopefully we have an awesome final GSL Coda season. Throughout the weeks, of course, we'll talk to you guys about some of the games that have happened. That means that we are done covering esports, and it's time for us to just have a good old little chitty chat. Big Gabe said he should be able to join us around 2, the latest. We are waiting. I'm excited. I think it's going to happen soon. But let's just kick things off without Gabe then. Last week, I had a couple of casters on the Pylon show. We had Nathanias, we had some Big Rob. And we went over the DreamHack format, and we talked about a lot of the things that we liked and we didn't like, and some things that did get better from a production point of view. But at the end of the day, we can talk about it for days. You guys are the ones that are actually participating in it, and it's been going on for 5 seasons now. There have been a couple of minor changes, but mostly for the broadcast, not so much for you guys. Lambo, are you sick and tired of it, or are you still kind of excited for the upcoming DreamHack Masters winter, for instance?
I'm more on the sick and tired side of things, even though I obviously want to compete and show how good I am, and I'm always going to be excited for that. But it feels like more of the same very often as a player, as I'm just sitting at home here. And I had some problems with this format initially, anyways, that I also gave ESL the feedback for. That I hoped they changed. And even though I would just like to see general change, just so it's a little bit different, I would at least like to not play 3 weeks every time with a game every second day. I really dislike that part about it. And then there are other things about how I feel like in the European DreamHack, I personally struggled a little bit with keeping up the motivation because it feels impossible to win it. Whereas in some other single format with all the international players, I feel like I would have a better chance at like winning a home story cup, which should be way harder, right? Than ever even making it to a finals of a DreamHack. So I don't know. I think there's a couple of things wrong that we can get into a little bit of more closely of what I think.
ShoWTimE?
Yeah, the thing is for me, I get stressed out a lot playing it because it's just It feels like I don't know. It's kind of weird because it's technically it's a best of 3 every other day. Sometimes a couple days in a row. It doesn't seem like much really. It's like we play so many games a day anyway. You will think like it's just a best of 3 every other day. How bad can it be? But somehow the fact that you have to constantly have it on your mind, basically. Like you play your best of 3, you finish it, and you have maybe 1 day rest, but you're like still preparing, and it just feels like you can never relax somehow. At least that's how it feels to me. I mean, not every player has these issues probably. And after like the group stage and we get into the playoffs, I feel like so exhausted already. Like my mental state is just so bad. I don't know. I wish we just had a little different format every now and then. I think we in Starcraft in general, like even in the past when Blizzard was doing it, we get to focus on doing the same format over and over and over. Like we have like one thing that works and we just never change from it. So I feel like it would be nice if we could just have something different every now and then. Like we can use this format. It's not a bad format. Like it's the group stage is great. I think from a consistency standpoint as a player, because you get so many games. It's not, oh, you have one bad day, you're out. You get like so many days to play that it's unlikely you're gonna have a bad day the entire time. So that is good, but I don't know. It's just maybe having it a bit, maybe having more games on a single day, having more break as a player would be nice. Like for example, instead of playing one best of 3 every other day, maybe having 2 best of 3s a day, and then you have like 3 days off or whatever. So you have more time to relax, and it's not like 2 best of 3s suddenly like, oh my god, so many games. It's still only 2 best of 3s. So I would really like a change. I don't know if it's gonna happen, but yeah, I get too stressed out playing it, and I would love a change.
So I think it's safe to say that you guys both agree that it's a very quote-unquote fair format, but also very mentally draining. Uh, I do think it's funny that you guys say this, and obviously other players have said it too. Yet there are so many comments you read either in Twitch chat or on Reddit or on Team Liquid where it's like, "Oh, this DreamHack format sucks. It's a bunch of irrelevant series." Right? Like the fans are saying like none of these games matter, yet the players are here saying that they're actually super stressed out for almost every single best of 3 for quite some time in a row. Do you guys think that the casters should do more to explain that these best of 3s do matter and that everything is important, or do you think that this is always going to happen just because it's such a spread out format? And my goodness, that is a large presence in the center. Gabe, we'll talk to you real soon and give you a proper intro. But how do you guys think we can change it? Because the fans, they seem to think that it's a bunch of irrelevant series, yet all the pros, they are actually very invested in the tournament and they're stressed out for every best of 3. So where has this communication gone wrong?
I think it's a little bit hard to understand for viewers how much one series can really matter. It can impact your confidence. It can also impact your standing in the group. Very often, a group ends up being 1-2 with both either losing 0 or 1 series. So if you lose 1 series against someone else, you might not be able to get top 2 anymore. And the moment you don't get top 2 anymore, you kind of are reliant on bracket luck, because you might just drop to a lower bracket and then you might just have to play Clem, who loses to Marine Lord or something. Or you also I feel like I just give it out of my own hands to get into the top 6 at the very least without having to play one of those 3. And if you lose those series that might seem unimportant, sometimes that snowballs very fast. And that's why at least I put a lot of importance on it. And it also just feels so much better when you have a better score. Like you just feel better, you play better, everything changes.
You look
Yeah,
better.
like
You look in the mirror. You're like, who's the guy who's 6-0 in this group? That's me right there.
Pretty
yeah,
much.
like
That's fair play.
I lost to Cristiano only in my group, right? And I finished second, even though I beat Reino. So like you can see, like ShoWTimE versus Cristiano, like who cares, right? But all of a sudden, I'm not first place. All of a sudden, I have to play Gabe in the first round of the upper bracket instead of playing. I don't know who got second place in the other
Vanya.
groups, and I could have gotten Vanya. Yeah, right. Like it completely changes. Like one series can completely change everything. Even though, like I beat Reino, and I'm like, oh my god, I should be first place, but no, literally one map short, and then just because I lost to Cristiano. So like every series matters more than most people think.
Alrighty. Gabriel, thank you so much for making it to the Pylon show. I know you're in the middle of moving between 2 apartments in Cologne. Has everything gone well so far in this morning?
Yeah, everything is okay. I'm just waiting for the internet to be there, and then I'm fully moving.
Okay, in the new place, when is the internet coming?
Probably next week, I would say.
Okay. Why did the internet not just stay? Chris the Legend had some internet, didn't he?
Yeah, but I I had to take the connection on my name, and because the contract changes, I guess it can't just be transferred.
Alright,
But I was able to mention that when I made my contract, so I guess it shouldn't take that long.
Gabe moving from Cologne to Cologne. Well, can't wait to visit Gabe. It's going to be awesome. Thank you so much. We just kind of covered the weeklies and stuff like that, and I'm sure that you're not too interested in talking about this weekly, so we're not going to do that. Then we spoke a bit about GSL. Now we're just going to have a little chitty chat all together. We're talking about the DreamHack format, Gabe. Everyone has given their opinions about it. The fans have given their opinions. The casters have been talking about it a lot, but we haven't heard that much from the players. I think it's safe to say that you have been performing very well in this format throughout almost every season, right? You pretty much always made top 4, maybe besides one time. Are you still enjoying it, or do you really, really wish they would change it by now?
For me personally, I don't mind the format too much because I think I'm very good when it comes to just spontaneous games. Like if I have to play 7 best of 3s, I'm fine with it. I can think about a plan in every match, and I think it's also like a thing for Terran players. If you're like really solid as a Terran, it's actually the most convenient, I think, as a Terran because you can't get too surprised. So best of 3s are kind of convenient because as a Zerg or Protoss, I imagine you can get some bigger all-ins, and preparation can really screw you up. But I think I'm on the same page there. Even though I've been doing very well in the format, I don't like it too much because the main issue I see is that you have to play 1 best of 3 on like every day, and even though it's like players you should beat, even if I have to play against like one of the bottom players, I'm still gonna prepare my hardest, obviously, for that one match, and that means that one day is gone completely. So if I have to play 4 best of 3s in a week on 4 different days, I'm gonna have to prepare for that match like every single day, like 4 days a week, and I would rather have to play like on 2 days. I think that makes the life a little bit easier, a little more convenient. I don't mind playing 2 best of 3s per day, or even 3. Yeah, I think that's the main concern I have. For the group stage, I think the most concern is though for like the double elimination bracket. I'm not really a big fan of that.
I know that Carmack will agree with you on that. He was never a big fan of double elimination brackets. I think in some tournaments I'm okay with it, but I think maybe in a format like this, especially if the group stage is already so spread out and you can technically say that seeding matters, maybe a single elimination in the playoffs would be cool, would be exciting, and would cause some of those fairy tale runs as well. And that's obviously something you hope for, because every single season, the top 3 of Clem, Cero, and, well, most of the time Rainer, not this time, it obviously takes away some of the joy of the playoffs that the playoffs are supposed to bring. Now, Lambo, you mentioned something important. You said you did give feedback to ESL. Could you let everyone behind the scenes, or could you let us know what's happening behind the scenes? Like, who's reaching out to you? Who do you give your feedback to? And are they doing something with that feedback? And is it just you, or do all the players have a saying? Like, how does this all take place?
I believe there is a mail for feedback in general that every player receives, but I'm not really using that one. I'm more so just speaking to the person that I think is responsible for communicating with us, which is Hayuka in this case. So I usually tell him my feedback, and he responds, and he says that okay, he's gonna forward it. I'm not exactly sure what happens with it. The first feedback I gave was very fast after the first or second season, and my suggestion was that we're gonna play the groups one by one. So with more, just like the other guy said, with more games per day, because I thought that would make it easier also for the public to follow what exactly is going on in which group. Would also make it easier to see how the implications that each match has. And for the players, it would make it one, so you were less burnt out by the moment that you reach the playoffs. And two, it would make it easier to practice, because as a Zerg, there are not that many Zergs left in Europe. So not a lot of people are preparing for Zerg. And everyone just prepares for their next match. What I usually like to do is I still like to play every matchup a little bit per day, but it's very hard for me to find custom game partners. So usually the only players that I had to prepare with against Terran, for example, was like Aquaron and Creed because they didn't play in the cup, right? So I thought that would eliminate a bunch of the stuff that I didn't like with it without really changing it too much. The only answer that I got is that they thought the scheduling might be hard with it, but that's the one feedback that I gave very early on.
Well, I mean, it's funny because obviously we gave the same feedback as casters for a while, and that it didn't happen after the first season. I'm like, okay, but maybe even the first three, because last year was obviously a very weird year. The pandemic suddenly broke out, and they had an entire tournament circuit lined out, and they probably had all these trips planned. Suddenly, have to do everything different. I could understand that they didn't really want to change it after 1 or even 2 seasons, but I do kind of feel that after the break we had, the off season, Katowice wrapping up, basically the end of the first season of the ESL Pro Tour, I do feel like there was more than enough time to do things a little bit different in season 2, and I'm sad to see that it hasn't happened yet. I like the idea of doing it like completely different, and I also agree with ShoWTimE. It's like we find a format, and I love this format, by the way. I do think it's a good format for not just the pros, where I think it's very fair, but I also think it's very nice for guys that make it into the big leagues for the first time, that they don't get into a 4-man group with, let's say, a Hero Marine and Marine Lord and then one more strong player. They play 2 best of 3s and they're done. It's like, whoa, you qualify for DreamHack, and now you're out playing 4 maps. Like, that's kind of lame. I think it is nice to see that they do have the chance to play 7 series and get some experience on the belt like that. But just because it's good and it's nice doesn't mean we have to stick to it for 6 seasons in a row, 2 years straight. I definitely do think there is a way to change it. But well, I don't think we should get too many hopes up for the DreamHack Masters winter, because that's actually all happening quite soon. And that's kind of my next question for you guys. Do you think that it's maybe the way that these tournaments are spaced out? Because it feels like there is nothing, and then suddenly it's just a tornado of StarCraft 2 tournaments in a row, and then it slows down again. Because I feel like we barely have time off. Now you've got the season finals coming up, then you have Aces ROG, and right after that, DreamHack Winter is already knocking on the door again. Do you think this is an issue, Lambo, or do you say like, nah, it's not too bad? Like, for as a player, I'm not too worried about everything that's happening all the time.
I mean, I think it should be spaced out for sure way better. Especially, I think it starts way too late into the year. Like I checked my price earnings for 2021 at some point in May, because there was not even a single DreamHack, and it was a couple $100 because I don't play in online tournaments. I'm like, well, shit, I didn't really play anything yet. so yeah, I started playing, and then people were like, oh, Lambo is not bad, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not bad, but I didn't really get to show it anywhere so far because it just starts super late, and then the season finals that I locked into were, and then the next season starts right after, and I'm like, well, not much time to take off. So I think for sure that it could be scheduled a little bit better.
I do like the idea of an off season though, right? Like an actual off season, but I think the bigger problem is that we in a way, like we try to finish up everything before December even, and then it's like an off season into Intellect Masters Katowice, into another off season, into here are all the DreamHack tournaments, and again, good luck, have fun, guys. Like it all happens very quickly. I mean, Gabe, you often talk about on your stream how you just need a break from tournaments. How do you look at the way that the calendar is filled in, basically?
Well, since everything became online, it's kind of the theme right now. DreamHack takes 3 weeks because of the format, like I said. And then everybody wants to do an online tournament nowadays. Rotti is obviously doing his thing, as always. Then there's the weekly every Monday. What I think is the biggest issue is that it gets really repetitive, as the format is always the same. Like the DreamHack format is always the same. The Asus RG, for example, is kind of always the same. I think that makes it very repetitive because, like you already said, the season is packed in like 6 months instead of 9 months or something like that. I think I believe that if you put the DreamHack, like if there were only 2 DreamHack seasons per year, for example, that would make it better. Or if you space them out a little bit more, because now it's actually after the season finals, the next week, like the qualifier happens, or not the week after actually. And then that week after is once again DreamHack time. So basically 1 month break between each DreamHack. But between these tournaments, there's no break, because then there's the Aces RG, there's the qualifiers for that, there's the weeklies, there's the Rotti tournament, there's probably more tournaments coming up in the future. In December, we probably have another TSL, and so on. Yeah, I just hope that, or rather, I think if DreamHack was, let's say, either only 2 seasons or 3 seasons that only last for 2 weeks, it would already be significantly better.
And like, if you would have to take out one season, probably be fall, right? Where you can say that you can kick the year off with summer, and then you can have winter, and then you can do something different and creative, maybe in the middle of it, or push winter back a bit further, and make summer a bit early, and then have a
Yeah.
unique format in the center.
Yeah, exactly, because then you can also take a vacation as a pro without any regrets. Or you just put the 3 DreamHacks. You start the season a little bit earlier, so you put the first DreamHack in April, and then the next one in July, and the last one in like September or whatever.
ShoWTimE, I guess you fully agree with everything that has been said so far.
Actually, I kind of disagree, but
Oh, go ahead, mate. I
simply
didn't think
because the thing is, like, it depends a lot if you make the season final or not. Because as someone who's never made the season final, I feel like I have very little to play actually. Because for me, I have 3 DreamHacks, where if I finish like top 6 or whatever, I don't make all that much money, and then I have so much downtime. You have like this, like TSL and the Chinese next, whatever it was called, and that kind of stuff. But I feel like if you make the season final, it looks very packed. Like you have so much stuff. Because you finish the DreamHack season, then you have like a couple of weeks off, then you have season final, then the next DreamHack season starts. But if you don't make that, it feels like you don't have much to play, really. At least to me, it feels like it. I don't know about Lambo, like you made like once the season final now. It probably feels much more stressful if you make the season final. But if you don't, then... I mean, when does the next DreamHack start now? In like a month or so?
In 4
after
weeks.
Aces ROG. So
4 weeks?
basically, like the second weekend of September, you have the DreamHack Masters season final. Then the weekend of like 1920 or 1819, that's when Aces ROG takes place. And then I think the week after that is when the qualifiers are already for the DreamHack winter.
Okay, so
Yeah.
so yeah, like for me, the DreamHack finished beginning of the month somewhere, right? So I have like 2 months of nothing, pretty much. Where like, okay, there's a qualifier for Aces like in a week or so, I think. But other than that, there's like nothing other than the weeklies. So it doesn't feel like I'm super stressed out playing tournaments all day, every day. Like maybe it is if you make the season final. For me, it feels like, okay, just not really
Yeah.
doing much for the next 2 months now.
As someone who usually also doesn't make the season finals at all, I still just think it could be spaced out more. I don't want 2 DreamHacks instead of 3 or anything, but like it feels like the 2 breaks. So usually in sports they have like a winter and a summer break, right? I don't feel like in the summer at any point I can go on a vacation for 2 weeks because I will miss some random qualifier, or at least I won't be prepared for something, which is pretty annoying. I think they should just like redistribute the breaks pretty much, because there's no reason for a huge break to be before Katowice, because Katowice is late February. We don't have anything December, January, February, especially if you don't
Well,
qualify for.
There is the last
the-
chance tournament in
Yeah.
December, right? But
Right. Yeah. So, and then afterwards, there's again a huge break. So I think they should just move things around a little bit. So we would have a summer break, and I would also love for there to not be any ASOS, even just the qualifiers for those tournaments, for like a couple of weeks. So that I would agree with. I don't think there's too many tournaments or anything, but I also think it feels repetitive. But I think a big part of it is just that the DreamHack just feels super repetitive, at least to me. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. Like the break before and after Katowice feel a bit long. Like I feel like we could start the DreamHack a little earlier. Like maybe a month break after Katowice, maybe 1.5, something like that, and then keep going instead of, what was it this time, like 2-3 months or whatever?
yeah. I
Feels a
do
bit
want to
long.
say, in the defense of ESL, of course, these are very bizarre times, right, with the pandemic, and they didn't want this. Like, it's not like they really want the online DreamHacks, but I think in the beginning of the year, they were obviously hoping to at least maybe only have one DreamHack online and have then already an offline event happening in either America or in Europe. So I think the main reason why it was done the way it was done this year is because they were trying to see how everything was going with COVID and hoping that the world would go back to normal so we could just have our circuit events again where we have a bit of online StarCraft, but then the main thing happens offline. So yeah. I guess they will also look at this and be like, we probably could have done this better. But on the other hand, it's very hard to plan things out at the moment since everything changes all the time. I mean, even where you guys live, right, in Germany. One week, Gabe can go to Zülpichestraße. The next week, he cannot go to Zülpichestraße. You never know how it goes. All right. I think we can all kind of agree then. We can
Yeah,
agree.
I think the best thing would be to just start the DreamHack earlier, in April or early May, and then you have more than enough time for like vacation.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, Lambo, the winter break in football is kind of gone, right? Do they still have do a winter break? There used to be a proper
Yeah,
winter break, but
yeah.
these days the UEFA is also making them play 58 games a year, so there is not much of a winter break left anymore. All right, well, I do appreciate the feedback, of course, and I'm sure that Apollo is either listening or I will forward it to him. I've been trying to get Apollo on the show, but he's just too busy. I don't know what he's up to. Gabe, you're so close to him. Can you just like take a sneak peek at what Apollo's up to every now and then? I believe you guys even went to the same gym for a while, but let's talk about something else. Gabriel is here, and that means that I think it's time to talk about the easier tools of Protoss. Gabe, I heard you had a little rant on Monday. I did not see it, but I did hear it. What was the rant about? Give us a shorter version.
I actually don't know.
It was right after King Cobra got the solid victory over Clem.
I don't know, actually. I don't remember. I talk about it like a billion times.
Okay. Well, then we're going to do it differently. There's been a lot of talk lately about how Protoss is not necessarily imbalanced, but how Protoss is simply a lot easier to play than the other two races. ShoWTimE, when you hear that, what are your first thoughts?
I mean, it's something that's been going on for a long time. I think it is true to a certain degree, but it's also kind of insulting as a pro player who plays Protoss, who's trying his hardest, not winning tournaments and stuff. So it feels like it hurts a little bit, you know. It hurts a little bit. There is some truth to it, though. Like I do think when we're talking mechanics, for example, I feel like there is it's easy mechanically, and there are certain like abusive strategies and get you pretty far up the ladder. So there is truth to it, but I also feel like if you're talking high level, so like like top Protoss player against top Terran, I don't necessarily agree anymore. I feel like both sides have stuff that can easily win games. For example, in PvT, like I've lost so many games to a simple Widowmine chop, where I looked away for like 5 seconds fighting or whatever. And like you can't tell me that like doing a Widowmine chop is necessarily the hardest thing in the world. Like you chop 2 Widowmines and they blow up 16 probes or whatever, and you win the game on the spot. So like Terran also has tools, that are kind of easy, that can win them games easily. But as I said, there is truth to it.
I think it's easier to say with the MMR. So I think if a Terran plays against like a low MMR Protoss, it's more likely that the Protoss can upset the Terran. But when you play against someone and you know roughly how they're gonna play, it's probably gonna be, especially at the highest level, it's probably gonna be pretty even. So I think there's definitely a lot of upset potential. But when Marine Lord is talking about easier tools, I think he's not necessarily referring to like the highest level. He's more like looking at the bottom where there's like countless of Protosses.
Well, I mean, that tweet came out after he lost to Max Packs deep into the playoffs, so I do think that was kind of directed towards Max Packs, who, if I may say so, was the very first Protoss to ever break into the top 4 in the European DreamHack Masters. Like, I think a lot of the talk, and I'm glad that you already said it, Chatham, because that was kind of my next question. It's like, there's a lot of bitching and whining about Protoss in general, but I feel like it's never about the absolute highest level. They're never talking about you. They're never talking about Neep, even though Neep builds a lot of batteries and Tempest, and it's sometimes a bit annoying, but it's always like, no, it's not them. It's the other 27 Protoss that are kind of good, and knock on the door and win a best of 3 every now and then against good players, but they don't really all win tournaments. So how important is all of that bitching and whining really, Lambo?
Well, I'm not sure about the bitching and whining, but I mean, the tweet obviously came from after losing against MaxPex, and MaxPex also makes me feel feelings that I don't like too much, where I can see myself tweeting a thing here and then. He's just very frustrating to lose against. But I think this is very matchup dependent. For example, I don't know much enough about TVP that I can judge how hard the different styles are to play. But for example, the TVP style where you just sit there on Skytos and build a big army, and then eventually you just try to win the game with an A move. Like, I don't think that should be as powerful as it is, and that's not directed at the level that I'm playing at, but at the level that is a little bit below us. Exactly like you're saying, because like this is the main thing that when I'm streaming, people ask me of how to beat this, and the honest answer is it's very, very difficult because all-ins shouldn't work. So they're kind of forcing their playstyle on their opponents, and then you kind of have to learn how to control something, whereas the other guy, it feels like just A moves, right? So I can understand where the frustration comes from. I'm not sure that the bitching ever leads to anything, to be entirely honest. That's why I try to never whine on my stream, and that's why also I ban it. But I understand where the frustration comes from, obviously.
Like, I think it is fair to say that certain things with Protoss are maybe easier to execute than they are to beat. And I think like SkyToss static defenses against Zerg, I think you make a solid point. But I also think a lot of people get a bit carried away, because if I look at, like, let's say 20 bio units and 3 Manavacs above it, and then they're kiting Zealot Archon, like, I actually, like, everyone's like, wow, look at the micro of the Terran, but that's also not exactly mind-blowing micro. And in a weird universe, you could even say that controlling Zealot Archon is more annoying than just kiting Bio, because the Bio listens, and Zealot Archon doesn't really listen, and I feel like you have to correct a lot more. So doesn't it kind of go two ways with, like, what is easier and what is harder, or what do you think,
Well,
Gabe?
if you're playing like that, then you're playing it wrong as a Protoss. Then you're
Okay,
not using the EaSiEr tools.
what are the easier tools then, Gabe?
A lot of things, but not Zealot Archon. You can make Shield Battery and Colossus, that's a great combination. You can send TTs anywhere. You can send Zealots anywhere. You
Yeah,
can
but
have a
like, if
Warp
we're talking
Prism.
about sending DTs everywhere, can't we also shift click some liberators around the map?
Yeah, that's really powerful, yeah. You just warp in 5 Stalkers at a spot and you have the defense.
ShoWTimE, I see you're in pain.
Oh, no, I actually agree. Like, I think TVP specifically, there's so much stuff pros can do that's like DT. Like, personally, even as a pro, I feel like Disruptor and DTs, like, you know, like Stalker Disruptor and then having the DT run by, it's freaking obnoxious. Like, I can say this as a pro, I think it's insanely obnoxious. I think it's not necessarily broken, but it's just like, I mean, I play Terran sometimes, and if I play against this, I want to punch my monitor, honestly. Like, it's it gives me a headache when I play against it. And even as a pro, it feels a bit bullshit. But yeah, I mean, as I said, like,
I also don't think that's like a balance issue, because like I said, if I know roughly how a Protoss is gonna play and I can play like a best of 5 or best of 3 against him, I can handle that. Like, it's all good. I'm not gonna get surprised. I get into the mid game nicely. So then even if Protoss is at a certain level a little bit easier to play, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm still gonna win because I play better or because I prepared better. Terran has some nice timings they can use and stuff like that. And a lot of variety in that regard as well. I think that the main issue is more like a motivational thing, where nowadays if you want to practice, you can only practice against Protoss, really. Because nowadays everybody is a Protoss at, let's say, 6,000 to 6,500 level. And especially as a Zerg, I imagine it being very frustrating, because as a Zerg, there's either two options: you either all in every game, or you just go into late game. You can't attack a Protoss, I think. At least if they go for like Skytos and stuff like that. And if I was a Zerg and I play like as much Ladder as I do now, and I play so many Protosses, and I would have to total every game, get like a really complicated army of like, let's say, Corruptor, Brootlord, Infestor, Viper, Mass Spore Crawlers, and I have to play like 40 minute games every time. I think that's why, for example, Zergs don't play as much anymore, and that's why a lot of Zergs that aren't the top tier pros maybe even quit the game and are doing something else. And for Terran, it's like the Void Relic, obviously, and stuff like that. So I think that's the motivational problem where, like, at 6,000 to 6,500, Terrans and Zergs kind of stopped playing, and nowadays you only really play against Protoss.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like isn't because if I think about Europe, for example, we never had a lot of Terrans, right? They were like never in Legacy Void. I felt like I've played a lot of Terrans in the ladder, but we had a lot of Zergs and we had a lot of Protoss always. But in recent years, I feel like so many Zergs quit, whether they're just getting old, like Nurture or Snoot or TLO
Zenster,
or
Hellraiser,
Zenster.
Nemshar. Not
Like there's
Hellraiser,
so
sorry.
many there's so many who quit, right? So I don't even know if it's necessarily because Protoss is so much easier that we have so many Protoss left. It's just we never had Terrans, and
Well,
there's probably like about 10
I
Zerg
think
players who just left.
the
The
difference
couple
is that
Zergs.
there's new Protosses coming up in that time where the other people quit, where there's not as many Zergs and Terrans. Well, also a lot of Protosses remained. But yeah, the ladder is extremely obnoxious right now on Europe.
I agree.
It's not enjoyable whatsoever. I have twice as many games with Terran as I have with Zerg, just because. Well, first of all, Max Pax plays the same every game, and I get him like every second game, and then everything else is also just like I have 75% of my games are against Protoss, and I don't know, man. You get insane over time. So that the ladder is an entire different beast that I think doesn't. I don't get annoyed by Protoss being easy or anything. I just get annoyed by having the same shit over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes for me as well. Like, imagine playing PvP all day. Like, it's I think I would rather play a non-mirror matchup all day than freaking PvP. Like, it drives me insane after a while.
Do you guys think that having a completely different map or having 5 new maps could change this a little bit and it could motivate some of the Terrans and Zergs again to play a little more ladder? Or is this really related to the batteries, to the static defenses, to the Void Race?
I'm
I
not
think,
sure. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I think
Gabe.
maps in general in TVP can have a big impact there. I think if there's new maps, then Terrans definitely feel more motivated to play against Protoss. But I'm just speaking for myself here, because I don't necessarily have issues with like all-in Protosses like other Terrans have. So yeah, for me, I think new maps would already be a big plus for Terrans in TVP.
But I feel like there's not suddenly gonna be more Zergs or Terrans. Like, I feel like we're kind of at a point with our game or our scene where if people leave, if pro players leave especially, there's not gonna be a new one that just replaces them. So, like, even if you nerf Protoss, those Protoss are not gonna just suddenly disappear from the ladder. There's not suddenly gonna be 5 new Zerg players and 5 new Terran players who are like, oh hey, suddenly I'm 6'5" instead of being 5'5" or whatever. Like, it's not gonna happen.
What if you nerf the battery and the Void Ray? Then it might happen in the eyes of many, ShoWTimE. That's kind of what everyone is talking about.
I don't think so. Like, I mean, Lambo earlier said that a lot of new Protoss came up, but I feel like it's not that many. Like, I feel like a lot of the Protoss that have been around 5 years ago, they're still around. Maybe they've gotten a bit better over time, but I don't feel like there's all that many new Protoss players. Maybe MaxPax is like one of those who kind of think of, but other than that, there's like a lot of 6K Protoss, I guess.
Yeah, no, I
New
thought
ones.
of a more general thing because we said like Snoot, Nurture and stuff. I think since then like Skillus, Goblin, all of those guys are also new. Hellraiser,
True.
like newer. Rather than I don't think there's any Zergs. Maybe Vanya, I guess, would count. And Terrans, I don't
Milky
know.
Cow.
Milky Cow, yeah.
Terrans, a lot of like 6.2 Terrans that are pretty
Yeah.
decent, but there isn't, like, besides Clem, there isn't like a
Yeah, like no one that just came to 6.6 that we would have fun lettering against or something, you know.
No, but Clem did make that jump. Is Clem just an extraordinary talent, guys?
But Clem played the game forever, but yeah, that's true. He made extreme improvements.
I think whenever there's a newer patch, people make like the biggest improvement. Especially when there's a new game, people have always made bigger improvements. And Clem was always kind of good, and then at the last patch, that kind of fits very well to his playstyle. Like the one in 2019. And that's where he became like extra good.
Like I do think the Terran over, like the Terrans overall, like you're looking at Terrans like Milky Cow, Aquaron, Battle B, for instance. Like if all those guys just start playing a little bit more high level ladder, like you guys may not get them every game, but then you're gonna play them quite often, and then it will obviously be less that you're only playing Protoss all the time. Because yeah, at this point it does just feel that you're gonna play Strange, Christiana, and Gerald 24/7, and then apparently Max
For
Pax as well if you're the very upper echelon. Go ahead, Gabe.
for some, like these Protoss is definitely a practice the most. Yeah, like uh, I'm not sure if they're enjoying the game just because of the tools that much, but they play like 30 games every single day. It's kind of crazy.
Just love PvP.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I never really get it. Why are they even playing whenever
Exactly.
whenever
I was
queue up,
wondering the same. I
I
was
get
wondering the
Protoss
same.
as a Protoss too.
Because
Yeah.
like people like Laser and Marine Lord, they stop lettering because they don't enjoy it. I also don't letter at all when I'm not streaming, pretty much. And the Protoss seem to still enjoy PvP enough to letter because those play by far the most. Like the guys you just mentioned. I'm always very surprised by that because I thought it was just going to be a snowball to a decline of players playing ladder overall and more into custom games. But I don't know. I don't know how they see the PvP matchup.
Well, they're probably just motivated, and they realize that right now, if you look at the DreamHack Masters Europe, of the 32 players, 15, 16 are Protoss. And if I guess if you're still an up and comer and you just feel like you want to improve yourself, then you may as well play the matchup that you are most likely going to play in the group stages or even in the qualifying matches. So I guess in a way, it makes sense that they're still putting in the games. The work ethic is remarkable of these up and coming Protosses. I don't want to hear anyone say something if we do finally have one winning one soon. Just, in a world where Strange does win the next season of the DreamHack Masters Winter, do not blame it on Void Race, guys. That man plays a lot of ladder, okay? I had something else. I actually had quite a few more things. Yeah. Are you guys also? Well, we already mentioned the Mappool a little bit, but I was proper disappointed that we didn't have a completely new Mappool for this season of the DreamHack Masters because I really thought we had. We obviously had that Mappool when some people didn't think that we were gonna get new maps anymore, and suddenly like surprise, here's Beckett. Kind of sucky, but 2K is a really good map, and we were all happy. But some of these maps they've been around forever now, and now it was another season of the same maps. Does that bother you, or do you just flip the switch and say, I'm a pro, I'm here to duke it out, I'm here to potentially win it all? Or does it take a little bit of motivation away? ShoWTimE?
You can look at it in two ways. Like as a pro player, you love playing the same maps because you know them, like all the in and outs, what strats are good and all that stuff. On the other hand, it's freaking boring. Like it doesn't matter if it's practice or tournaments. New maps always like it's just more exciting. Like it's more interesting figuring out all the stuff again. So I would have also loved the new map pool, but yeah, as I said, it's pretty boring.
Gabriel?
I'm a big fan of new maps every time, just because something actually happens in the game. For a game like Starcraft, where we're probably not gonna get many more patches and stuff like that. At least maps is something that can be made by the community and can be implemented very easily by Blizzard. That's a good way to keep the game very fresh, which is necessary in StarCraft 2. And well, I wasn't expecting a new map pool for fall, but if you look at like the ladder season right now, it ends in like November, so it kind of indicates that we aren't gonna get new maps until then, which means the next DreamHack could also be on this map pool, and I think that's a little bit sickening because we're setting new records where maps have stayed in the map pool for more than a year.
Yeah.
4 maps actually, like Lightshade for example.
All right, but like we have a great community. We have a map making contest. We haven't even used maps of not the most recent one, but even the one before that. What stops DreamHack from just doing the same thing as GSL? I mean, you guys are playing custom games anyway, because otherwise you're playing against Cristiano and Gerald all day on the ladder. So why are we not just changing the map for the DreamHack Masters then?
Well, I'm not the tournament organizer. I don't know how they have to communicate with Blizzard, but the way it has been the last couple of years is the maps on the ladder are played in tournaments.
Yes, Gabe, I am aware of that, but I'm saying that.
Yeah, I mean it's not up to it's not a question directed to us. I mean,
yeah, but you
if
guys can give
tournament-
that feedback too, no?
We
I think a
could,
lot
yeah.
of players hate having different maps in tournaments than on the ladder, even though we hate the ladder these days. But I don't even know if I would like it. Because it would mean I have to specifically find people to play customs on those new maps that only the DreamHack has.
Mhm.
And then maybe you have still the weeklies on the old ones, and I don't know. I always prefer if it's just the maps that we have on the ladder, but if Blizzard isn't putting new ones in, then maybe we have to do it like this, yeah. And just
It'd
put
be like the last ditch effort, yeah.
yeah.
It's like yeah, I mean, if we have to do it like this, sure, but isn't there like a more convenient way by just putting them in the ladder and that's it?
Of
Hmm.
course there is, and
Yeah.
that's the way that we want it. But we all know that Blizzard is not something that we can necessarily rely on now every single week or every single season to be totally in touch with us and give us what we want as community. Lambo, if you had the choice right now, you had the final saying. The players have voted. It's 15-15 between new maps, unique maps, and the current ladder Mappool for one more season. You have the final vote. Would you like to see some of the maps of the Team Liquid map making contest, even if you can't play them on the ladder, or would you say no, always stick to the ladder Mappool?
I would probably put some new maps in, but not too many, 1 or 2 max. But yeah, I don't see a reason why we're not gonna get new maps for the next season. Even though the in-game says November, I really hope that ESL is just gonna talk to Blizzard and they're just gonna implement new maps. I don't see a reason why not, because the map contest was just before this last season, so I can understand that they didn't implement it right away, and there was some drama. So now they're looking back into even maps that didn't even make it into the finalists, from my understanding. And I think they're just gonna pick maps, and I think from now on we're not gonna have this problem anymore. Hopefully, I think now with this, now that the test, the map test tournament is just back in action, I think we should not have to worry about this ever again. Hopefully, in my dream world.
But that'll be the first time that Blizzard changes the map like mid-season.
Yeah,
Oh,
well, maybe they're
actually,
just gonna change the
Yeah.
so
season
that's why I'm
duration.
like expecting it like that. Yeah, maybe they're gonna say change the season date, or I mean, I'm hoping so, but they've never done it like this, so we'll see.
No, but to be
Right
honest,
now,
there's
it
a lot of
indicates more towards that.
yeah, but there's a lot of things happening on Battle.net right now that never happened before. Like I see people walking around with a Team Rotti tag, even though they're not actually in the clan on Battle.net, so this seems to be a bit buggy. I don't think that they really have to stick to this date, even if they've been doing that for the last 10, 11 years. I believe we're in a pretty unique time and place with StarCraft and everything that's been happening at Blizzard, and obviously fired people, hired new people, StarCraft 2 being moved to classic games, COVID happening. I can see them doing something they haven't done before, hopefully. And yeah, I think we all welcome some new maps, because Lambo, I love you, but if I have to see you make another Queen Bark on Juggernaut Tower Oxide for another season, I may just flip my desk, mate. I'm sorry. All right.
That's fine.
Something completely else, guys. Um, all three of you, even though you're all obviously top tier players in the European scene, are streaming quite frequently. I think Gabe obviously streaming the most. He's very consistent. But Lambo, you've been making a lot of content, and even ShoWTimE has been streaming a fair bit over the last few months. Do you guys just do this because it's fun, or do you also think it's kind of necessary at this point with the state of StarCraft 2, where we are currently at in this game? Is it mandatory, or is it something that you do for fun? Lambo, you can go first.
I think for me it is partly for fun and partly just because it makes me feel a little bit better about like definitely about the earning money part and feeling a little bit more secure. I also get less nervous in tournaments because of it if I do well on my stream. I also generally would like to build myself something big as a streamer, like the way Gabe has it, or you for sure. Um, the thing I'm actually struggling with the most is actually the ladder part, because it's very hard for me to get in the hours, because people mostly just watch you main race, but then if every game is CVP, it's a little bit hard. So I kind of need to find a way around that. But other than that, like that part is not very fun. But other than that, I enjoy it and also don't mind the side effects, obviously.
Hero Marine, is it because we're no longer 16 or 17 and we need to worry about all the other things in life, or
No, I
are you
mean,
just
I've
do?
always streamed. Like, I've never really not streamed. Obviously, nowadays, like the last couple of years since I've been a full-time player, I stream as much as I can because I'm always a believer of doing both as a StarCraft 2 player. Because uh, it, it's I don't think you play that much worse if you stream as much as I do, for example, in tournaments. You can still do very well. I wouldn't say it's holding me back, and as a StarCraft 2 pro gamer, you're not making so much money that you can just retire afterwards like in other games. You don't make millions of dollars. Sarah, Reyna, nowadays Clem, they're making a lot of money because they actually win tournaments and stuff like that. So for them, it's probably not that necessary, but for people that are at the verge of getting there, or like people that are below that a little bit, I think it's always nice to stream if you can, and if you have already a good audience, that's also amazing, because it's just stable income, which is necessary as a StarCraft 2 pro gamer, I think. And over time, it really adds up. So I've been doing it for like a long time, and if I've never done it, maybe I would have played better in tournaments, but I don't think so. So I think I've made a very good amount of money, and it's also very enjoyable. It's much better than practicing while not streaming, for example. So not only is practice more enjoyable for me, I also over the time got more money than I think if I didn't stream, even though I could maybe play better in tournaments. But like I said, in my opinion, I don't think so.
ShoWTimE?
Yeah, it's also something I personally enjoy. I'm not streaming super much, but the amount I do absolutely enjoy. I agree with you, Marine. It's a lot more fun to actually ladder while streaming. Because even if you get PvP after PvP, you have something on the side, you can interact with some of the people in chat and stuff, so it's more fun. And I also think it is necessary at this point. If you're not Sarah or Reyna or whoever wins the Katowices and whatnot, I feel like you kind of have to do it. Like, especially, I mean, for me personally, especially last year and even this year has been pretty bad in terms of prize money. Like, it's down by so much because I think it's just because we have the regional stuff and the money is so split over all the regions. It makes it almost impossible to make a living from purely prize money. So even though I'm not like getting like super much money from my stream, it still helps a little bit to have like a small amount consistently coming in. And it's definitely fun. Like I enjoy doing it. I could probably do more even.
What's stopping you from doing more?
The thing is, like, I can't really stream for too many hours at once because I do get issues with my upper back and my right shoulder, not the dislocated one that sometimes happens. So I kind of have a limit on how much I can stream in a single day, and I also don't want to stream every day. It's just not something I enjoy to that degree. If I do it like 3 times a week for like 4 hours, that's like I like that. But if I had to do it every day, I think it would be a bit too much for me.
I mean, like, it's kind of funny because the answers are somewhat similar, but yet a bit different. Lambo, you were talking about how you really are at least trying and hoping to build something proper for yourself. Do you see yourself sticking around for a long time, like not just playing StarCraft 2, not just streaming with a StarCraft? Do you want to be a streamer after the whole StarCraft 2 competitive thing maybe gets a bit less for you, or maybe you can no longer keep up with the 16-year-olds, or the next game comes out and you just want to stream and be competitive in that too? You see yourself doing this for 12 more years?
I mean, I have considered it for sure, and I think I would enjoy streaming, especially also other games where you maybe have a little bit more time to interact with chat, because I really enjoy that part of it. But I will make that purely based on how big I could get within the time that I'm still a pro gamer and on the side. That's why I said I wanted to build myself something. If I was as big as you're right now, for example, I definitely would. I'm pretty sure.
Gabe, I know that you've been talking a little bit about studying again in the future, but you're not going to tell me that the big Gabe stream is going to go away, right?
No, I mean, I can't. Like, I would never do such thing like other pro gamers in the past where they've actually retired, and then I think that's a bad thing. Like, even if you are gonna go study, you can invest a little bit less time into it. But I feel like I kind of need it because getting a little bit tired of. Maybe it's because of the pandemic. I'm not a pro gamer because I like to play in tournaments that much, or because I like to play the game every single day for like 5 hours. I like the competition offline primarily. That's why I'm doing it full time. I like to travel for like offline events and fully focus on that. but we obviously don't have that for like a couple of years. So if there's ever a moment for me to start doing something on the side, but still focusing on StarCraft 2 primarily, it's like right now. That's the best time to transition. However, going from like playing StarCraft 2 to like retiring from one day to another, it's something that I would never do. I'm still gonna invest as much time as I need to in StarCraft 2 to make sure that I can keep up the level. Yeah.
ShoWTimE,
And
do
the
you ever
stream.
see yourself completely just walking away from the whole esports thing? Because you kind of strike me as a guy that, like, all right, you love it, you enjoy being part of the scene, you even enjoy some streams now and then, but I can also see you flip the switch one day and just be like, all right, I'm going to go for a completely different route. Or is there a chance that you just stick around in esports forever?
I honestly don't know. I could see myself being at some point like I don't want to do this anymore. Maybe the game just dies for real and do something completely else. Like I honestly don't know. I'm not someone who plans out everything ahead and has like, backup plans for everything and all that stuff. So I mean, I wouldn't mind becoming like some sort of streamer doing other games and all that stuff. I think it would be fun. Like I always loved video games. I like streaming. I don't know how it would be streaming different games. I don't know how many people would be interested in me doing that kind of stuff. I have no idea. I would love doing it though. But I could also just go and quit completely and study or find a normal job or whatever. Like I honestly don't know. I could do anything.
Hmm. Just didn't spend too much time thinking about it?
No, I don't know. It's just I feel like if you have backup plans for everything, you don't really commit to what you're doing because you're always
Mhm.
like, oh, if it doesn't work out, I'm just gonna do something else or whatever. I feel like it's better to just commit to it, believe in it, and then if at some point you don't enjoy it anymore, then you move on.
That sounds like a proxy void ray if I've ever heard it, guys. Commit to it, believe in it, and if you don't enjoy it, you can always transition. All right, that's fun. I am happy to hear it. Do you guys have any funny stories for me? Because obviously everyone that streams StarCraft 2 on Twitch has to deal with the backseat gamers. Everyone always has some advice. People are still telling the Muslim to build some Blue Flame Hellions to deal with Zealots. How do you guys deal with it? Because I think it's obviously kind of funny. Like, I'm somewhat decent at StarCraft, so most of the time when people give me advice, I'm like, bruv, like, who are you? But for you guys, it's literally always, who are you? Because if there's anyone out there that would actually know it better, then obviously you would know who you're dealing with. So, Lambo, I know that you still get a lot of advice each and every single day whenever something goes wrong. How do you deal with it?
I mean, I just make fun of them in a sarcastic way most of the time, and then the chat joins in, and I kind of make them feel bad about themselves. That's just my way of making sure that it doesn't happen again. But to be honest, I think it happens way less, at least for me, than it does for you, because I think most people know that they can't really give us advice too much. For example, it happens way more often if I off race, and it
Yeah.
also mostly happens when I lose games, not when I win. For some reason, then they think, yeah, okay, now I can really help you out and show you how to deal with this. And I'm like, come on, man. So yeah, I don't know. I usually just make fun of them, and if they keep going on, usually I ban them because I just don't want to deal with it. But yeah, I don't know. I don't like them too much. I'm not the biggest fan of the backseat gamers.
Gabriel, you get a lot of friendly advice every single day.
No, actually, I don't, and I think I kind of know why. Like, it. So if we're like lettering and then backseat gaming happens, I think it kind of depends on your win rate. Because if you lose, it's gonna happen. Like if you lose, you're in the position as a streamer where you look like you're wrong. So you lost the game and you did something wrong, and then it doesn't matter what you say. The chat is always gonna say the opposite whenever you lose. So you lose the game against, let's say, Proxy Voidra, and I didn't make a turret. Two scenarios. In one game, I made a turret and I lost, and another game, I didn't make a turret and I lost. If I lose with making turrets, chat is gonna tell me to not make turrets. If I lose a game and I don't make turrets, chat is gonna tell me to make turrets. So that's always the logic. When you lose, you're wrong. It doesn't matter what the scenario was. So because when I'm lettering normally, I usually win most of my games. I also play kind of late, so I don't play against I play a lot of against like lower MMR players. So it doesn't really happen to me very often because I win a lot of my games. But whenever I do lose a game, it becomes that toxic atmosphere where people are gonna backseat for sure. And usually my approach is either I don't read it or I like to ban stuff that I don't want to read. So it's not necessarily banning because I disagree, it's just banning because it's like, yeah, fuck off.
All right. Well, a man who does lose a game on the ladder every now and then is ShoWTimE. I'm sure you get a lot of advice.
I actually don't get too much of it.
Okay.
It's surprising because if I do, I get pissed, and I think people pretty quickly get that they should not backseat game me because I would just ban them after a while. Like I get usually, it depends on the wording, you know. If someone
Yeah.
is like, do you think you could have done X or Y? And I'm like,
Mhm.
maybe, but I think that's not bad, like whatever, right? But if someone is like, oh, you should do this, obviously, like, are you stupid or whatever? Then I get very pissed and I just ban
Mhm.
them immediately and I move on. But it happens rarely actually.
Yeah. It's funny how like context can change everything. If someone's like, "Hey, Rotti, like, why didn't you transition into Colossus a bit quicker?" And then it's like, "Oh, well, it's because X, Y, Z." Or it's like, "What the fuck? How do you not have splash damage there?" I'm like, "Oh my god!" Like that really gets me, you know. So, all right, well, it's good to see that even you guys still get a bit of advice here and there. It turns into some funny memes. I have a question for all of you. We can maybe let ShoWTimE answer this one first. Is there a certain content that you think that you could maybe make on stream, but you don't really want to do because it doesn't feel quite right? Think of smurfing, think of X, think of Y, or is there nothing really that you can think of that you wouldn't do?
Mm, I don't know. Like I always just stream my ladder games. I never really consider doing much else. Like I sometimes do some replays of subscribers or like general people who watch my stream a lot, analyze those. But I don't know. There isn't much that I would be like, or like I would think that I would like to do or anything. So I don't know. Don't have much of an answer.
Gabe, a little while ago, you played with the idea of the Terran University, but seems like a lot of people applied, but nothing really came out of
Yeah,
it.
not enough time, too many tournaments. But I've thought about like doing other letter stuff like lettering on Korea, but I'm too lazy for that. Like lettering on Korea with high latency and see how far I can get. Stuff like that, but usually I just stick to the convenient thing. Obviously, the most convenient thing to do would be to like smurf or whatever, but I'm never gonna do stuff like that because I'm even though smurfing is something that is allowed because Blizzard doesn't really have anything against it. So technically, it's like allowed, and you could do it, no problem. I would never promote it myself, so I would never like do anything but play ladder on my level. Not even like let's say go down a couple thousand MMR and like or like 1,000 MMR and do troll games. Like sure, like doing some Smurf games every now and then could be nice if I even like late at night if I still want to stream and I would have to go to like a low GM account and then play ladder because that's the only way I'm gonna find a game. I would still not do it because it's even if I was searching at like 5.5 level, I know it wouldn't be fair. And if I was trolling, I know it would be kind of to me it would be kind of disrespectful as well if I play against someone trolling me. So yeah, I think that'd be nice if I could do that late night. Search with like a low MMR account, but I don't do it because of what I've just said.
Mm-hmm. Lambo, I know that you obviously have like some creative ideas as well that you do your best with and try to come up with guides. Were there certain things that you thought like, I know that this would be good, I know people would like it, but I don't want to do it, or you didn't really face those kind of problems?
I mean, the only thing that I think would be successful would be like Gabe said, smurfing, because people for some reason like to watch trolling, like to watch stomping, especially also for educative purposes. I just don't think smurfing is okay, and I would never do that. Yeah, I never even thought I never even considered it, to be honest. Um, for me, it's more content that I would like to introduce to my stream, but I don't think would work. So it's the other way around, which would just be more stuff on the side. So I can stream for longer because I have a very hard time just queuing ladder game after ladder game because yeah, it feels you get burnt out very easily. So I'm not sure how Gabe does it, but for me it's not as easy. So I like, for example, what HireStim does is he offers a bunch at the start, which is what I also started doing. And then he plays GeoGuessr on the side. Now, I don't really enjoy GeoGuessr as much, but something just on the side to have a little bit of a break. But usually when I do stuff like that, I feel like I lose all my viewers, and then it feels kind of shit. So that's the reason I'm not doing it.
People
a
either
lot of
want to see ladder games, like normal MMR ladder games main race,
Mhm.
or actually smurfing is something people like. When I say smurfing, it's like when you play at lower MMR, it doesn't matter for what purpose. So, for example, if I played at like master level and I would do like a commentate everything that I'm doing, like I'm casting my own game or something like that, that's actually what people also enjoy watching, I've noticed. So these are like the two main things that people like to see, and obviously watching games. So if I was casting a tournament, that'd be something where people would tune in as well. So these are like the three main things. But yeah, not a big fan of the smurfing thing.
Well, guys, no worries. None of you need to smurf. I've got $1 million idea, and I'm gonna share it with you guys. I don't know when the right time and place is, but hear me out, okay? I thought about it this morning. I was showering, thinking of all three of you, and I was like, what could be the best possible content with my German friends? Need to find a time and a place for it, but I'd be willing to at least put up like 1,500 euros, and then we can obviously maybe do like some fundraising, or I could take some funds that maybe I have left over from the Pylon Show Patreon. There's a Patreon badge if you want to support the Pylon Show underneath this stream. Hear me out. After the DreamHack Masters Winter or after the Last Chance Qualifier, need to figure out. We're gonna do like a 2-week series where ShoWTimE takes care of 4 Jumi. Gabe takes care of Battle Buddy. Lambo takes care of Ghosty. And then those young'uns, they're gonna duke it out. You guys coach them. We're gonna do interviews side by side. You guys will join me for the commentary. Cheer for your boy. And then your student needs to make you the money. I will give you a little coaching fee regardless, but we can all stream it. We can commentate it. We can hype up the youngsters. Lambo, are you in or are you in?
It sounds cool. It sounds cool. I actually thought of coaching Ghosty in general for YouTube content. So I might just milk this even more if you just throw some money on top of it, anyways.
We'll throw some money to the players. We'll throw some money to the coaches. We all stream it. Everybody gets happy. Gabe, you don't need to coach a whole bunch of Terra nerds. You only need to coach one, and you get paid by Rotti. Are we in?
Of course, of course.
You like the idea, Gabe?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds okay. Of course, I'm in.
Yeah. ShoWTimE?
Yeah, sure. Like I've never done coaching. I don't know if I would be a good coach. I could probably pass on some knowledge, I hope, but it sounds like a fun idea, yeah.
And I think all three are actually pretty evenly, I'd say, matched up as well. Maybe Battlebee is the best of the three at the moment, but I think Jumi obviously has got the easier tools, so there's a lot of potential to work. And then Ghosty, I think, is perhaps maybe the biggest talent because he's the youngest of them all. So I think that we can really turn that into something, guys. We don't need to smurf. We don't need to do anything that we don't want. We just need to coach, do something good for the community.
Oh, but coaching is not the content that people want to see either.
Yeah,
That's the thing.
If we all get involved, I gather up some funds, we get people excited. I don't know, Gabe. Could be a slam dunk, but go ahead, Lambo.
Well, for me, it's fine. Go ahead, Lambo.
no, I think it's fine as well. If you hype it up or something, maybe it would change. But usually, I don't think coaching sessions are the most successful. So
No.
I don't know. But this obviously
it's-
would be for a purpose as well, and then maybe it people are more interested in it.
No, I think if you just do like a random coaching session, like 1 hour here, 1 hour there, and then people see someone, they never see them again. I can understand that fans in general don't find that very interesting to watch, because especially you go over the same stuff over and over again. But I think if there is a story, there are 3 races being represented over here. It's one big happy German family. It's a bunch of talented youngsters. It's a bunch of veterans that are still the top tier pros. I feel like this is the kind of coaching that people could get behind. Could be really fun. I think I'm more excited than you guys are, damn it.
I also see a problem with being like we're all coaching German players, and we're all obviously German as well. So
Yeah.
I always find it very awkward if I have to speak to a German in English. So if I was doing coaching, I would only do it like on stream in English or off stream within in German.
You could
I
do a
mean-
baby marine as well. So it's an Italian coaching Italian.
Yeah, that could be it as well.
You can turn it international. I thought it would be kind of funny to make it one happy German. Like, you guys have to get ready for the next generation of German top tier pros. You guys are all closing in on your 30s. Come on, guys.
We're talking about the content on stream. That's what I'm saying. I'm fine with coaching German. It's just it's hard to make it a content for me because
Well, I'm not asking you to stream 30 hours of coaching battle booty, Gabe. It's more like we'll do the official matches on stream and then we'll do a little bit of hype and banter. But
yeah,
if you-
that's good. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that the coaching part is something that
Yeah.
people actually don't watch that much compared to, like I
That's
said,
the
casting.
least interesting
playing,
idea of, or that's the least interesting part of the entire planning. Come on, Gabriel. All right. Lambo, just a more generic overall question. How's Shopify, mate? You joined 4 or 5 months ago, or is it even longer ago already at this point?
I mean, it's quite a bit longer because they didn't announce it right away, since there was a bunch of stuff, since it's a new team and stuff. So yeah, since the beginning of the year, basically.
Okay. How has it been? Because I know that you were teamless for quite some time. Obviously, after you left Clash, you were not interested in joining some random organization that was going to last 2 weeks by the looks of it. But then eventually everything worked out. You found your happy place with Shopify. Is it everything you hoped for?
It is everything I hope for, and I mean, honestly, this is the team that I feel super lucky to end up with Shopify. It's very hard to put into words how lucky I actually ended up being by waiting for the correct team to come, and then it's actually the best team that I could have possibly imagined. Like, they really just want. Obviously, we have Dario as a manager who knows Starcraft as well, but they just want the players to have the best time possible and also the best tools and everything. So yeah, I don't know. I have literally no complaints whatsoever.
Why are you smiling about happy best
It's
tools, Gabriel?
always tools. That's the talk in StarCraft right now. Everything is about these tools. I like that.
Well, different tools. You've been with Mouse Sports, Gabe, for an incredibly long time at this point. I think we're closing in on 10 years, if you're not there already. Talk to us a little bit about how that has been, and yeah, have you always been happy on Mouse Sports? Do you ever
Yeah, I
think
like it. I can do kind of whatever I want to do. So I'm like my own manager in a way. Like if I don't want to play, let's say in that tournament, I can decide it by myself. I can decide if I want to stream. Like it's up to me, and they fully trust in me. So it's a very chill relationship, which is probably gonna last even longer.
And ShoWTimE, you've been with Team Big, Berlin International Gaming. You, I believe, announced at the beginning of the year that your contract would be renewed for an entire year. You're their only StarCraft 2 player, correct?
Yeah.
How did this come to fruition in the first place?
I actually think in 2019 already they were interested. Because like kind of Gabe, you also know the manager and stuff,
Yeah,
right?
so I know the manager of Big, because he used to be in Mousesports. He used to be like the Counter-Strike manager there, and now he's like the main or general manager on Big. And I've talked to him in like 2019 already. And I think they were thinking about like picking up a StarCraft 2 player back then. But ShoWTimE, so I suggested them, for example, ShoWTimE. But then ShoWTimE at that point has already signed a contract with whatever team, I think like
Makers, which
MCAS,
turned
yeah.
out great.
Yeah. So then the next year when he was teamless again, I just hit him up again, told him that ShoWTimE in this case is available, and
Right.
yeah, and then I set up the contact again.
Pretty much, yeah.
I'm very happy with it overall. No complaints.
Absolutely, yeah. This is by far the most reliable team I've ever been on. Like I've been on Millennium, which is probably like the second most reliable, but the thing is, like the Frenchies, you know, they are not. They like to book the flights and the hotels quite late, and they don't respond sometimes, all that stuff. So, like right now, I'm almost a bit sad that there's like, I mean, I'm definitely sad that there's no offline events, because I feel like this is the first time where I have a team which is just gonna take care of everything, and I don't have to worry all the time. Because on all my past teams, it's always like I would tell them I have an event coming up, and then I wouldn't get an answer for a while, and then the event comes closer and closer, and I'm like, "Hello, can you like do something, book my stuff?" And then a couple of days before, I would finally get my stuff, and I'm like, "Okay." This time it worked out, and like last time, Katowice offline, I told Big about it a couple of weeks before, and it like immediately they booked everything. Like everything was done, and as a player, that's so much better than having to worry all the time. So I'm very happy that I have a reliable team now. And yeah, honestly, there isn't like, too much interaction going on. Like they have like a Discord group where they ask me tournaments, what tournaments I have coming up and all that stuff. But it's mostly I just do my own stuff as usual. So that's also nice. But yeah, very happy on Big.
And Lambo, out of the three, you're kind of the only one with teammates right now. But I think a lot of people at home are often confused. Like, what does that mean? How close are you to Scarlet? How close are you to Beyond? Like, do you DM Beyond before he plays in the GSL? Do you talk to them every day? Or do you all just kind of do your own thing and just keep up with each other, but still every man or woman for themselves?
I mean, I think usually becoming teammates.
Sorry, one sec.
Okay. I think usually becoming teammates doesn't really change everything. I think a lot of the common misconception is that you need teammates for training partners. But like if I join Team Liquid, for example, I'm not all of a sudden. It's the first time that I'm gonna be practicing with EaSiEr and Mana and stuff. So it's not really for that. I think I've gotten closer with both Byan and Scarlet. Obviously, I didn't have any interactions really with Byan before, and he's super friendly. And I've been friends before with Scarlet. We play Dota sometimes, and we talk about strategies. But that was the case before already. So for sure, with Bjarne, I've gotten a little bit closer. And I can also practice with him. But I'm pretty sure if I asked him beforehand, even if I wasn't teammates, he also would have practiced with me. So it's not something that is all of a sudden super different.
Sorry, mate. Like, I had to open my window. Sometimes when you sit in your room for a while, I don't know if you have the two, when you just stare at your monitor all the time, you can start feeling a bit lightheaded. So at one point I was like, I'm not feeling well. I'm going to open my window. Then I realized that my blinds were still down, the curtain was blowing, and almost my entire desk almost fell over my camera. I was like, no. But saved. Thank you very much for just holding down the fort. Cobra, my good friend, I know that you don't have an ultra long time today. So do we have some Q&A?
Yeah, let me pull those up real quick.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much, of course, one more time. Gabe, I know, in the middle of moving, joining us today. That is awesome.
It's
Let's
fine.
just see.
I arrived later, so I made it. It's all good.
Yeah. When is so you're just waiting for the internet right now, and then you're going to be fully
Yeah, and
moved?
then I'm gonna move my computer. That's like the last thing, and some smaller stuff because I'm still living here. So like,
You carry everything in
like the
one trip, I assume?
rice cooker, for example. Yeah, it's just one trip.
Both
One
shoulders.
trip with the car, and then yeah, I'm lifting everything and walk there.
All right. Of course, guys, we have a Patreon for the Pylon Show. That is what allows Cobra and myself and the rest of the team to run the Pylon Show each and every single week. If you guys want to support this weekly Starcraft talk show, make sure to take a look at the beautiful Patreon badge underneath the stream, or just head over to thepylonshow.com, where you can also find all information related to the Patreon. Cobra is now doing his absolute best to take a look at the Q&A. This week we were a bit short on time because Cobra is currently busy traveling all over America, and that's why we will not cover like the This Week in StarCraft, but we'll do that again next week when we should have all the time in the world, and should probably be able to do it a little bit later into the evening too. Hit me, Cobra. I'm ready if you're ready.
Was there a clip of the week?
If we have a clip of the week, then are you guys familiar with XLTJ, X ShoWTimE?
The German guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it on Twitter, yeah.
Es reicht einfach auf. Lambo, you saw it, right?
I saw it. Someone linked it to me. It was pretty hilarious.
It's actually, I think it's an amazing rant. Like everything about it. You know what? You know what? We're gonna show this. There's always someone out there who hasn't seen it yet. Cobra may not have this, but I'm sure that Gabe has it on copy pasta. Can you link it to
Yeah.
Cobra real quick, Gabe? Because I mean, I could find it too. This is This is probably one of my all-time favorite rants. And you know what the best part is? So like in the beginning where he's like so calm, he's like, he's not getting a GG for that. Like, no way. Like he's like kind of calm. And then all he wants to do is drink some water out of his beer glass. And he's like so close twice to drinking water. But then something just breaks. And he's like, no! It's the same shit every single time. Oh, this just doesn't. Gabe even gave me a translation about the entire rant. Let me know when you can play it, Cobra. And can our
Pulling it up.
guest hear it? Can we hear it all together or can we not hear it?
I won't be able to do that this week since I'm not there in person, and that requires a little bit extra hardware. But I'll give you a countdown, and you can all play it at the same time.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do it. Just for the real authentic experience.
I need a link then as well.
Okay,
Me
I
too.
can link. I can link it to you guys. It's easy. Yeah. It's like the first thing in my browser history that. Okay, Gabe already posted.
We got it.
All right, let me know when we're gonna play it for the people on stream, and then we'll all play it together. Take a look at the water, Lambo. That's the real hidden gem. Are we ready, Cobra?
I think so.
All right.
Just transitioning this, and 3, 2,
2,
1.
1.
Halt immer das Problem an der Sache.
Our official
Er
clip
kriegt auch
of the
kein
week.
GG dafür, das ist ganz ehrlich, oder? Weißt du verlierst gegen diese wirklichen widerlichen Drecksmenschen, da krieg ich so einen Hals. Solche Leute mit AA-Builds, die null Taktik haben, null, weißt du, oder, und das ist halt einfach das erste Game schon wieder, Mann! Es regt einfach auf! Du bist nicht warm, gar nichts, da krieg ich echt da! Meine Fresse, muss ich mich jetzt echt zurückhalten. Weißt du, du guckst, du machst, du bist kalt, du hast fucking 9, 8 Stunden, 10 Stunden bist du auf Arbeit, scheißegal. Der Typ, kein Leben, Alter, spielt seit heute Mittag, du kommst kalt rein, musst gegen seinen spielen, bist doch nicht mal warm, hast doppelt fast gefühlt ABM wie er und er spielt AA und nach AA ist nichts mehr, aber du bist halt schon tot, weil er dir einmal deine Eco-Line gekillt hat. Nein, das ist, boah.
What
Oh,
is
wait,
AA?
Yeah, you got it wrong with the it's not attack move.
What is it?
It is he's referring to the builds that they are playing because that's when he just started playing Starcraft again and he called I don't know why he does that. Probably because AA is like the children word for crap in German. So like he means shit builds. They're playing like the or in this case the most generic builds. They all know their standard builds and that's it, nothing else. They have their one standard build and then that's it. That's how they win. But it's not attack move.
I think the flow of the entire rant is so good. Where he's like, 8, 9 Stunden auf Arbeit, scheißegal, der Typ, kein Leben. And he just like goes on it. It all flows so well. For all the non-German speakers out there, the TLDR is, why was he so angry? He wasn't warmed up. That's really what it all boils down to. Anyways, thank you very much, Cobra, and big shout out to our man XLTJX. He's been gaining quite some followers. Still streams, but do not expect him to rage. He actually doesn't rage a whole lot, but he just has a couple of hidden gems there in that clip directory. Gabe, good friend. Gabe, you can confirm, right, that XLT is not the rager that you perhaps hoped he was?
No. If you want more rage content, you can just scroll through his clips. You will never run out of content.
Of the past, but he's a change man. This is the website of our Pylon show. Let's go ahead and get ready for the Patreon Q&A. If you guys have any questions for me or the rest of the Pylon show or a future guest, just submit your questions through the Q&A. Big shout out to all of our Patreon supporters. We have quite a few. I don't want to keep ShoWTimE, Lambo, and Gabe here forever. So we're going to run through this rather quickly, but we love you guys. Without the support through the Patreon, we couldn't do this. At what supply counts is SC2 and or SC Remastered the most interesting in each mashup? That is a question by Nachtcup. ShoWTimE, what supply is most interesting for you?
Depends on the matchup. I think PvZ is more interesting early on. Somewhere between like 100 and 150 maybe. I think if you get to 200 and Skytoss and stuff is just super boring. PvT, probably more late game. Probably around 200 supply. I think it's more interesting for Protoss. And PvP is always wild. no matter what.
Gabe?
I'm not really sure. To me, it's always maxed out army. I think that's usually the most interesting. It doesn't matter the matchup. To me, it's always maxed out army. I think.
Lambo?
I think TVZ probably for me would be like 170, 180 when the Terran has units on multiple sides and then starts trying to trade. PVZ, I agree with ShoWTimE, and ZVZ might be, if Link Bane is involved, might be even like a 30 supply or so. If I mean, it depends super hard on the game, but also the biggest for the viewership is probably just maxed armies, where the most tension is there.
Yeah, I think I always kind of like that between 90 and 140, where it's like you trade and you try to be active with every single stalker and every pickoff counts. And I think that's actually a fun phase in the game, at least in PvT. Like PvP, I agree with ShoWTimE, that's all over the place. Because the first 4 stalkers can end it if they pick off one of your units and you're like, oh, now I've got 2 units, he has 4, my battery is not ready to overcharge yet, I lose the battery. I don't know. Next question by Hyper Turtle. What are some things you've done over the last year to keep Starcraft fresh and interesting for yourself between the restrictions on travel and the lack of balance and Mappool changes? Have you had to get more creative? I think we kind of covered this already, but I still think you guys could maybe add something to some of the things that we spoke about over the last 2 hours. Gabriel, do you want to go first, mein Liebling?
For me, it's pretty simple. I'm just streaming every time. That's what I've been doing like the last 4 years because I'm not that motivated to practice on my own. So that's why I'm streaming in the first place, and that has been motivating me for like the last 5 years.
ShoWTimE?
Yeah, I didn't do too much other than streaming a bit more. That's all.
Lambo?
Yeah, I just try to play different every ZVP I get, like literally a different style every single game. That's the only thing that's different from the usual.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it definitely has been hard, and I think pretty much everyone has had like a little up and down when it comes to motivation and spirit. We all miss offline events, and even before we went live, Lambo, you were already talking about how much. Actually, that's something I wanted. I had a note about that, talking about you and a caster, and actually to each and every single one of you. I don't know why we didn't cover that. Maybe we'll do that right after the Q&A. For some reason, I completely skipped over that, but I want to talk a little bit about your casting career. But now we are taking a look at all the Patreons. It's obviously very important too. Thank you guys so much. Your name can be part of this magnificent list as well. If you just take a look at the Patreon badge underneath my stream at Twitch, or once more head over to patreon.thepylonshow.com or just thepylonshow.com. You can find everything there. Big shout out to Make a Shane, Code Furious Alpha, and our other big tier. Well, it's not tier 3, but $100 Patreon supporter. Next up, we've got Polly at Lambo. Does Shopify Rebellion plan to hire a full-time Protoss player, or is Scarlet enough?
I mean, I don't think so. But to be honest, if we were hiring a new Protoss player, I also wouldn't spoil it here. So, you gotta ask Dario.
At Hero Marine, how do you like your pizza? Burnt, smoked, or medium raw?
I wouldn't say burnt, but if it gets a little bit dark, so like close to being burnt, that's the perfect pizza, I think. But the cheese should always remain its color.
When are we getting our first pizza stream from the new Gabriel apartment?
I'm not sure. It's kind of inconvenient to make pizza. I currently don't have the setup for that either.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if I'm going to have it there because the kitchen is a little bit further away from the computer. So it's going to be hard to just work with one USB cable.
You can work a way around that, Gabe. There are people even streaming in big cities without a computer. I'm sure that we can find a way. All right, ShoWTimE. What are your favorite tools, not SE related?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't like. I actually have no clue. Even if I had one, I wouldn't know how to say it in English. Probably. I don't know. I don't know.
Just Protoss tools. Those are the only tools that this man needs. Question for all 3 of you, but ShoWTimE, you can go first. Would you join the team house in Korea when it's open again? Why or why not?
I would love to. When I was there in 18, probably the best time I've ever had playing StarCraft. Just so much more fun playing on the Korean ladder for one, and second having just people around it. You can talk to them, all that stuff. So I would love to, but it depends a lot on schedule and stuff. Like if there's a break at some point where I don't have to play DreamHack, I would love to go, but usually it's very tight and there's not too much room to just be like, yeah, I'm gonna go to Korea for 2 months or whatever. It almost never works, but I would love to, yeah.
I'm actually a bit surprised by that answer because I think even the Korean ladder in this day and age, do you really think you get a lot of happiness and satisfaction out of playing on that ladder in 2021?
I think it's much better.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. In Gabriel, I feel like I know what you're going to say, where you'll be like, but the stream, it's going to be hard to stream, but maybe if you can get a dedicated
No.
streaming room for
Actually,
yourself.
the opposite. Like, if I'm in Korea and I'm streaming, that's probably the best. Besides playing tournaments, the best content I can get. I think people will be very interested in watching that, but I don't think a team house is what suits very well to me.
Why
I
is
don't
that,
like
Gabriel?
living with people together. Usually, StarCraft 2 team houses. I've never been to one, but from what I've heard, they're not the cleanest, and I like to be by myself.
It
Says the
depends
man
who's in
with-
the house.
I I love the man who's talking about clean team houses, has an air mattress behind him. I know you're moving, Gabe. I know that you're moving, but that came out kind of funny. The timing is perfect. Lambo?
I would probably join, just like ShoWTimE said, for a couple of months if the schedule allows it. I actually planned on going there last year, right before the Corona started. I planned on going there before WESG if that would have happened, but then obviously Corona came and there was no chance. But I would probably try to find a month or two to go to Korea.
Okay. So all of you guys are still down to go to Korea. That is lovely to hear. Alexander is asking us, our very own Pylon show, lovely Alexander. Curious what you think about doing the photos and promos videos with GSL versus the world in DreamHack. Is it different than doing video versus ToOLs or GSL versus foreign? Do you like the final results? And is there anyone whose game face intimidates you? The GSL tattoo video was one of my favorites. ShoWTimE, I'll let you go first.
Koreans are much more try-hard about doing photos and videos and stuff. If you do photos at a DreamHack, since there's so many people, it's literally go in there and they put you on a spot with like some lights around you, they make a photo of two, and then you go again. That's it. In Korea, if you do GSL vs. the world, it's a freaking hour-long session where they do interviews and photos. They give you like an outfit and all that different stuff. So it's completely different. Do you like the final results? Usually, yes. I don't think there's ever like a super bad photo or anything. And does someone intimidate me? Not really.
Have you ever had a bad photo though, ShoWTimE? That's what the people at home wonder.
No, I have plenty.
Yeah? Wow.
Yeah,
Seeing is
absolutely.
believing. We need proof of this. Gabriel, what is your answer to this question?
I'm always a big fan when tournament organizers do like a proper media day, and I think it's fun when they have a theme like in GSL. So I think compared to DreamHack, like both are two extremes. Like at one hand, you have like one full media day that's actually being used, and that's fine to me if they actually make something out of it. Like in GSL vs. the world, they had like a lot of the stuff that we did was used, and in GSL it seems. I mean, I've never been to one in the GSL, but it looks kind of fun. Like the end product looks kind of fun. So they actually get something out of the media day. And then the other extreme to just basically go to DreamHack and then you go into the photo booth and then take 2 pictures and you're done. That's good to me as well, because you get what you need and that's it. What I don't like is when there's like a media day and it's like basically the end product is kind of the same in DreamHack. You get 2 pictures and that's it, and the other time you're just kind of spending the time goofing around. So I'm always a big fan of when the media day is being used, and I think the GSL does a very good job of that. I would like to see more of that in other events, like Home Story Cup could maybe use it as well. I don't think it will fit into a DreamHack, but it'd be fun to see stuff like that at like in Home Story Cup, for example.
Before we head over to Lambo, I want to know, Gabe, When is the next photo session for your Instagram? Because I'm getting a bit sick and tired of that garage. Like, I know that you stood on top of that garage in the gray buildings, but when's the next shoot, my friend?
I don't know yet. Whenever I know there's no lockdown anymore.
Okay, good. Because we need a different angle. We need some fresher looks. Like, we can't be using those pics forever. Soon it's gonna be like there's gonna be a meter of snow in Germany, and Gabe still is standing on top of that garage with beautiful blue sky above him. It's like, oh, played some good games in the DreamHack today. We need to get a next session in, Gabe. Lambo, any response to our question?
Not really. I never made it to GSL vs. the World, but I think the way they handle the media day makes for a lot of cool content in general. I think the more content, the better, especially if it fills the breaks. And yeah, I think they do a good job over there in Korea. I think we could learn a thing or two from that.
I am obviously a big fan as well. I think the tattoo video was indeed awesome. Do we have another question, Cora? Yes, we do. Red Gunner Guy. Shout out to Red Gunner Guy. He's asking a question pretty much each and every single week. Which is the hardest race and why is it Zerg? Lambo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just yes. Cool. ShoWTimE. How dog?
What's up?
Yeah.
What?
I think that's the joke. Like, what's up, dog, or something. I don't know. Wait. Did you guys get any of the Carbot plushies? Anyone?
Nope.
I mean, I can see them in your background. No, you have the Pro plushies. I guess
Yeah.
those are not cardboard.
I think they are actually, or are they not? I don't know.
I'm not sure. I wouldn't mind a Zergling one. I think they look cute, but I don't have one.
No, I don't have a circling one either. The baiting one is actually quite decent too. I think you can even turn them inside out, but they don't make them anymore. What is the best way to get good at something, be it SC2 or programming, or whatever? Well, I think that we're all gonna say the same: work hard, put a lot of hours into it, and do your best. Or is there a secret? Are there some magic words, Gabriel, that make you very good at StarCraft?
Oh, we're talking about like getting good. Like if you just want to play at a decent level, let's say you want to get Master League, surely like just putting on the work and so on should be fine.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to dedicate yourself to being a pro gamer, then it's a little bit harder. I think the main goal should never be you do something because you want to in the end earn money with it, but you kind of go with the flow. So if you feel like it does work out, you just continue doing it on the side. So I think the passion is very important, and yeah, I mean, spend on something 10,000 hours, and you're probably gonna see if you master it or not.
ShoWTimE, agree. Disagree.
Yeah, there isn't much else, honestly. Put in the work, try to have a good attitude. All there's to it, really.
I think
Yeah.
Lambo will agree with that too. So let's go ahead and move on. I believe there was one more part of that question. No, there wasn't. Oh my goodness, it's a Fear Dragon question. Go 10 tag gamers. By the fury of tasteless beard, you have been transformed into an aircraft carrier. What aircraft carrier are you? And what is your cargo? Tanks, an empty vacuum of space filled with cold air. It's gonna be a tough one to answer, Lambo. What kind of a carrier are you?
Aircraft carrier from
Yeah.
Starcraft. I will be a battle cruiser, so I can teleport around, because that's by far the best ability out of any unit, I think.
Gabriel. I'm almost afraid to ask, but
I don't really understand the question.
no one does.
I usually ban troll questions in my chat.
All right,
you
there
want
you go,
to
Fear
ban?
Dragon, banned from the Pylon show. But thank you so much for supporting the Patreon. We love you, Robbie, even though we don't always get your questions. Let's go ahead and move on. And dude, how did you guys pick up English? If it was not already your first language, would you consider learning another language at this point in your life? If so, which one? ShoWTimE.
I just picked it up through school. Like pretty much first grade on, I already had English, a little bit at least. So I learned the basics for the most part in school, and then through traveling and stuff, you kind of get more fluent in speaking. So that was for the most part what I did. And would I like to learn another language? It's a lot of work. I had French for like 4 years in school.
Mhm.
I think it would be cool if I could speak a bit of French, but it's a lot of work. So I don't know if at this point it's really worth it.
Gabriel?
I wanted to finally learn Italian properly last year, and I still wanted to do it this year, but because of the restrictions, travel restrictions, I never had the motivation. Because I had the motivation, but then it ended up being the case that I couldn't travel to Italy, so I would like to at least go to Italy again if I ever gonna learn the language properly. So yeah, I'm probably gonna do it next year, unless there's gonna be more travel or another lockdown or like travel restrictions, so I can't travel to Italy. So that's the the only thing that's missing. If I can travel, then I'm gonna learn the language.
Lambo?
Well, I also picked up English through school, and I think mostly I learned though by watching American TV shows. I think that helped me a lot because usually in Germany they just dub everything, and I just watch American TV shows, and that helped a lot. Learning another language, I'm not really interested in. I wouldn't mind getting better at Bavarian, which is basically a German dialect, which maybe some Germans might see as a different language, but yeah, that's the only thing. I kind of didn't use it as much in the recent years, and I would like to pick that up again.
Still rocking that Bayern Munich pillow. I see it, even though it's a bit blurry.
It's a scarf. But yeah.
I was very close to wearing my Dortmund jersey today, but I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. Cool, thank you guys very much. And I believe that is it, Cobra?
That's it for this week. Yep.
All right. So one more time, a very, very big thank you to everyone that supports the Pylon Show at Patreon. And if you guys want to join, once more, badge underneath the stream, or just head over to patreon.thepylonshow.com or thepylonshow.com. There's many different ways. You'll find it. If you really want to support it, you guys will find it. Now, there's one more thing that I want to cover before I let you guys go. I know the show has already been going on for a little bit longer than it was supposed to go on, but I had ShoWTimE here either last week or the week before that, but I believe it was last week. We kind of just spoke a little bit about casters. No, that's a couple weeks ago. We had Todd as well back then. And the TLDR is that ShoWTimE said that he thinks most casters do a good job, but he would absolutely love to see some more Lambo at pro events. Lambo, you I think over the last year and a half have casted a fair bit. Obviously, you still mostly are a player. You compete in all the professional tournaments, but you did some Katowice, you did Aces ROG last year when everybody was upset that it was going to be a solo cast by Rotti. I told them just get Lambo. Like if everyone is upset on the internet, you get Lambo and then everyone is happy. And I think it all kind of worked out. But yeah, how do you look at this yourself? Is casting something you want to do more and more? Or is it more something that's like, okay, if it comes on your path, it's okay, but you're still mostly focused on playing? Like, how do you see your casting career going?
I'm mostly focused on playing, but I really enjoy casting. So whenever I'm not at a tournament, I really I wish I could cast, but obviously there's people that do it full time. I think I can bring something a little bit different to the table, maybe especially as like an analyst, very specifically. Also for the Zerg matchups, and yeah, I really enjoy it. Maybe in the future, maybe if I start sucking at Starcraft, I would try hard. But I feel like the market for Starcraft 2 casters is very saturated, and I'm not sure I'm gonna get the invites for tournaments if I would be even interested in it, and maybe I would need to stop completely competing. I'm not sure exactly how all of that works. Because yeah, I don't know. I would need to talk to tournament organizers for that. But I definitely enjoy casting, and I could see myself casting more in the future.
I don't think you would have to completely stop competing. Like I know that's something that the Muslims struggled with a long time ago because Ben had a misunderstanding once with someone that doesn't even really is for, or works for Blizzard anymore. He's no longer in charge, but because he was participating in one tournament, he wasn't casting it, and he actually would have preferred to cast it. And because of that, I think Ben was a bit traumatized about like, oh no, I can never be a player again. But I honestly do believe that, for instance, you could play in the DreamHack Masters Europe. But if you miss out, you could have been invited, I think, for the season finals if the casters are going to be there again offline. That is the case. I do think it's fair to say that it is all very saturated, but I don't think it's very saturated with 7K Zerg players that could provide some expert analysis on the Zerg matchup. So I definitely do believe there is space for a Lambo in the casting scene. Well, I hope to see you more often. I think you know that, mate. And if not, we'll just dominate the Home Story Cup and then they will never be able to not invite you again. Put you on the
All
couch
right.
for 3 days. Gabriel, is this something that you're interested in? Because I know that you've casted a little bit yourself as well. If the tournaments no longer work out, but you would get asked to make a appearance as a caster or an analyst sometimes, would you do that?
Yeah, I would surely do it. Though I think because like there's many people that want to be casters and there's already many casters, and I think players, like if they get the opportunity, they would all kind of do it. It might not be the thing that I would do full time, but if there's ever an opportunity, I'll not say no. I'll probably do it, but I don't think I'll do it like I don't think I would try and do it like as a job. And at the moment, since I'm doing very well, it doesn't really come to my mind because I'm playing in every tournament, so I don't really think about it as much. Maybe I'm gonna organize my own tournament again, and then I can cast that. There's already enough casters for the EaSiEr Open Cup, let's say, and yeah, I think that's fine if they do their job. I don't feel necessarily passionate about it. If there's ever an opportunity, I would gladly do it. But besides, like a couple times, probably not.
All right. Hear me out. For the big Gabe Story Cup #2, Lambo and Rotti. What do you say, Gabe?
Yeah, we'll see if we find the only problem is really the time slot. I'm sure we can work out something, but if there's a time slot, then let's go do it.
ShoWTimE, would you be interested in ever making an appearance as an official caster, and let's say a DreamHack Masters, or being part of an Intel Extreme Masters Katowice crew together with Lambo, providing some pro analysis?
I think I would be up for it. I don't know if it's my cup of tea necessarily. I've never done it aside from like a home story cup, but I think those casts are quite different. So I don't know. Like talking about Starcraft doesn't sound like a bad time. So I think I would do it.
I think that's a perfect way to end this Pylon show. Talking about StarCraft doesn't seem like a bad time, especially if you get paid for it. Our guests do get paid a little bit because of the Patreon, but obviously we'd love to pay our guests more. And if the Patreon keeps on growing, we will pay our guests more. And that is just in case you guys are wondering, what the hell are Cobra, Venom, and Rotti doing with that Pylon show money? Well, we're trying to make everyone a bit happy and trying to distribute it fair and square. Meine liebe deutsche Freunde, thank you guys so much for taking a lot of time out of your day and joining me on this edition of the Pylon Show. And let's go ahead and close this one out. First up, Lambo. Lambo streams multiple times a week at twitch.tv/Lambo King. He also has a Twitter account, which is twitch or twitter.com/
Lambo SE2.
There you go. You guys can follow him there. It's a sexy banner, by the way. And an avatar. The avatar is cool too, don't get me wrong, but that is a good looking Twitter profile, I gotta say so. When are you live next, Lambo?
Probably later today. Right now, I'm pretty much just streaming daily. So pretty much every afternoon, usually this would be the time where I start streaming, but I still gotta eat lunch. And then
Okay. And the most important question, next Monday, are you going to defend your title as the reigning, defending, undisputed champion of the Big Gabe Weekly?
I doubt it, but we'll see.
All right, but you are going to try.
I mean, I'm gonna play the cup, yeah.
Well, that's all I wanted. Thank you so much, Lambo, for joining me today. I'm very happy with it, and I obviously also hope that we'll get to cast sometime again in the future. You can always join me, by the way, on a Monday if it's another like Gabe against Miko or a Rainer against Clem, if you ever want. Yeah, wasn't too bad last time, right?
Yeah, but it's rare that any Zergs are ever getting far. Usually it's Gabe against Clem or ShoWTimE or something like that.
As soon as Rainer is done drinking beer in the mountains of Italy or wherever he maybe is, then I'm
Yeah.
sure that we'll see him in a final again. Next up, the man in the center, an overwhelming presence in the scene, in this skull, in Germany, really. Like, can't go around him. Gabriel himself. Gabe, where can the people watch your magnificent Terran gameplay, where I've heard you don't really lose a lot of games?
On here, Marine Twitch. I stream every day. I'm gonna stream soon again. Like, yeah, I mean, there's nothing new. Streaming every day since I don't know how long. Probably since the pandemic, because there's no offline tournament, so I never really took a break more than 2 days.
Mhm.
But yeah, I'm there every single day, besides maybe Sunday or Saturday.
Every now and then, you need to make Zulpische unsafe, but
Yeah. I need to defend my title as the Kingpin.
the kingpin of Cologne. Thank you so much, Gabe. Make sure to check him out, guys. If you somehow don't follow Gabriel yet, twitch.tv/HeroMarine. And obviously, you just saw his Twitter profile too. And last but not least, Mr. Mauer. Do you actually like the nickname, D Mauer? Are you a fan of it?
It's alright.
Yeah, kind of cool.
Like, I mean, I don't know. I don't mind it. I like it, I guess. So,
Of course,
Could be
Tobias,
worse.
ShoWTimE. Absolutely, it could be a lot worse. Thank you so much for joining us. You guys can follow Tobias on ShoWTimE SE2 and Twitter, and of course, he's got a Twitch account as well, which I believe is just ShoWTimE
SE2
SE2.
ShoWTimE. The
Oh,
other way
SE2.
around, yeah. SE ShoWTimE.
Mate, you've made this pretty complicated over the years. I feel like
I know,
it's...
like, I got like everywhere. I got ShoWTimE SE2 except Twitch. I need to change it at some point.
All right. When is the next stream on SE2 ShoWTimE?
I haven't tried playing any Starcraft since I had my shoulder accident, so I'm not exactly sure. I'll probably try playing today. Maybe I can stream tomorrow if it's okay. So I don't know yet.
All right. Well, I obviously wish you a speedy recovery, but it seems like we're heading in the right direction, so nothing to be too concerned about. One more time, thank you guys so much. Vielen Dank and hoffentlich till next time. Thank you guys so much for watching another edition of the Pylon Show, this time the all-German edition. What do we have next week? I don't know. Could be an all-Russian edition, could be a Dutch edition, and we'll figure it out. We'll try to come up with something fun. Overall, we thank you guys for tuning in and hope to welcome you again next week for episode number 140 of the Pylon Show. But for now, from myself, Cobra, Alexander, and all the other Pylon Show members, goodbye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.